ready, dude?
Yeah, I'm ready if you are.
Let's do it.
All right. YouTube again.
I guess.
Yeah, here we are. We're back on YouTube. We wanted to talk about the culture of our church. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we did an episode, it was years ago, about something adjacent to this. It was like a meta charter or something.
Yeah. I was kind of glancing at that the other day. I didn't give it a solid listen, but we did.
We have too many episodes now.
It's kind of hard to keep track in the mind what all we've talked about. So there might be some overlap discussion-wise, but I think stuff that's been on our mind.
I didn't go back and listen to it, but I think the summary was we wanted to lay out kind of the house rules a little bit of what we use to play with our friends.
Yeah.
And deck building things that we use too. But I wanted to revisit it because of, some recent changes in the Commander environment that seem to affect people. But I didn't really feel it at all. Like I don't think we felt it at all.
Yeah, truthfully.
And rather than just saying something as lame as, well, we just didn't use those cards, I'm trying to connect the dot between the culture and the why we don't use those cards.
Yeah, because I think there is something deeper than just, well, I don't have those in my collection, or, I happened to jettison a few of those like a while back.
Yeah.
It's deeper than that.
Right. I think it is. I think it goes deeper. So I put a document together. We both have it. Essentially what's on it is we're going to go through what our goals are when we're playing with our friends.
Yeah.
Our church specifically is what we call it. And then evaluate how those cards that's just why they didn't fit.
Yeah.
Because of what we're about, not because of something just easy to say, like they were powerful or expensive.
Sure.
Or fast or something like that. We're just saying if our goals are this, then it kind of makes sense why we didn't really feel it when
certain cards were banned.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a big deal to us.
That's our aim. That's the episode.
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
Okay.
I like that as a directive.
Let's just talk about what our goals are first when we're playing with each other, right?
Okay.
You, myself, my brother Brad, right? Just the people that we've brought into the game.
Yeah.
Are our people. I think first we just want to foster enjoyable games together.
Absolutely.
Because why engage in it if it's not enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, like I was truthfully, like I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, Commander is this weird thing where I actually think of it as, I think a better way to think of it is it's a co-op game that an individual happens to win.
Interesting.
And in that, like, I think we as a group are trying to just have an experience that is enjoyable for everybody, right? Like if somebody walks away having not had a good time playing, like that is not the experience we were looking to cultivate.
Yeah.
And so there is some co-op nature to it in that the chaos of Commander contributes to interesting experiences together with an outcome of somebody wins.
Yeah. I like that where you're cooperatively playing, but somebody has to win.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
It is hard.
That's hard.
It's a hard prospect, but
yeah. I don't want to play a game that makes me miserable. There's games. How do I say this? There are difficult video games that's the draw.
Yeah.
It's like Souls-like games come to mind. FromSoft games come to mind.
Okay.
But the dopamine from those games comes from the conquering of its difficulty. So recently, like Brad, for example, he beat Elden Ring and its DLC without leveling up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like to put things out there, because I don't think
I haven't played it, but
so in Elden Ring, just to make it like just to wrap your head around it, you level up obviously by getting kills and by defeating bosses, and just like
Right.
almost everything that you do, it just kind of goes towards this currency that you can spend to increase your guys' stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of those stats, if you place points into them, runes is what they are, you increase your health. So as the game becomes more difficult and as the enemies become more damaging, you're not really just going to be taken out in one hit. Right?
Yeah.
Even though that threat is always there, but it's less likely so.
Mhm.
And then it allows you to equip different gear. I won't say the word better because the game isn't really set up that way. Better or easier or more synergistic weapons and armor as you go along.
Yeah.
Right? So because your guys he's set up for it, right? They have certain requirements. Like, so for example, like strength. There might be a big two-handed weapon that you need enough strength to even just use it properly.
Yeah.
But at level 1, where everything is set to just 10, your health.
Yeah. You're just baseline.
Yeah. It's your just baseline.
Yeah.
So the game gets really hard to play the further and further in you go if you don't put any points to level. But for somebody like Brad, this is to me, that's miserable. Like what I love about that game is the build potential, like trying different builds out, and you just can't do that if you don't have the stat points, right?
And I think with a lot of games, it's there at least for me, there's satisfaction when the game starts to become easy because of your leveling up. Like,
yeah,
I have some satisfaction from that.
It's why you haven't played Elden Ring. It doesn't do that. Oh, well, eventually it does. You can over level.
Sure.
You can do like a cheesy type build that'll kind of like not trivialize, but soften the difficulty.
Yeah.
But Brad, he wanted to do this challenge. Like he wanted to challenge himself to beat it. So he doesn't level up. He does everything he can to beat all of the bosses and beat the base game. And then the DLC comes out, and the DLC is in a lot of ways just tougher, dude. It's just set up to just be harder.
Yeah.
And he does it again. He beats that whole segment.
Brad, man.
Yeah. So like the final boss of that DLC, I think he said he spent like, I think 2 weeks just fighting, dying. He couldn't make a mistake.
Right.
Any mistake would just send him back to respawn.
Dude, and that kind of like muscle memory, like that it emerges from an exercise like that.
Yeah. My point is that if he didn't get a dopamine hit from doing such a thing, either like to brag or to just say he did it or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know if he'd really engage in it.
Yeah.
Like, there was a game that we had when I was a kid. It was called Super Ghouls and Ghosts. It was on the Super Nintendo. It just was a horribly difficult game. It was just horribly difficult, like unforgiving. It's really up there on difficulty. Or Battletoads. Battletoads is really hard.
Yeah.
And I myself didn't derive enjoyment from them.
Yeah.
So I didn't play them.
I get that. And like if I'm having a particularly difficult time with like some kind of quest on a game that I've just failed repeatedly, I have to set it down and then come back to it later. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So difficulty is an interesting thing, because if the game is trivially easy, that's not fun either.
No.
And that's the other part to this, I think, that you and I are trying to be aware of, is we don't want to make things too easy on a given player or a given strategy.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do the best we can to patch our playgroup.
Yeah.
Balance, whatever, our playgroup the best we can. And then making it fun enough for everybody, because what's fun to me is different fun to you, or not fun at all.
True.
What's fun to Tiff is really not fun to me. The way Brad wins a game of Commander, I don't find that super enjoyable either. But I have to, since it's a cooperative game, I have to cooperate in his experience.
Yeah. And I think that's true, right? Like, it's like you tolerate some level of Brad doing some of the things that Brad enjoys.
Yeah.
And likewise, like you guys tolerate me and I tolerate you with some things that we might find off-putting, right? Like the big OTK, grand over the top ending Brad really enjoys, and it gets obnoxious sometimes for some of us, but it's an experience Brad wants and we're all there for it. Right. Like sometimes you're a little more controlling.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
But like, you're not always that way. And that's kind of like the cooperative, like, this is the task, is to play against Andy with this thing that he enjoys,
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to say about this? element? Are we ready to go?
Yeah,
forward?
I think I'm ready to push into and further.
I think the reason why is we want people to come back and play. We've pushed people out of our play group because they didn't have fun for in one direction or the other.
Yeah, like either they made it not fun for others or they weren't having a good time.
Like one or the other, man. They've done, but we've pushed them out for sure.
Yeah.
That sucks, but it's true. And we try to learn our lessons from that. Either we out budgeted them or they just, whatever they wanted to do, we just weren't into, and we were too vocal about it. And it sucks because you need people to play. Life is going to get into people's asses, and you're not going to be able to play as much because just unsexy adult life gets in the way. So I want to try to at least make it so they don't feel like it's such a not. How do I say this? I want my friends to make the sacrifice of time and probably a relationship equity for some of our married dudes to come and play, because that's what's required. I don't want to engage in a game that's only 10 minutes long. It's just, it's kind of a bigger ordeal. You have to come over and play, and you got to put some coin in for sure to play also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want they have to have a draw more than just mine and yours personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the other piece is like, so we want to make it fun so people keep coming back. And so I keep wanting to play. Yeah. And you keep wanting to play.
Yeah.
How do we do it?
It's a damn good question, because I don't know that we're always great at it, but we try.
Yeah. Admittedly, we're not. Like, I think we're consistent about some things and inconsistent about other things. So I put them down what I thought, and I don't know if you wanted to add to this.
Yeah.
But I put down the things that I think contribute to our play group's health, our culture's health.
Yeah.
Respecting the following. Respecting people's time and agency is a big one. And what I mean by that is the time they spend making the deck, respecting it, the time they spend playing the game, respecting it, and their ability to do so, the agency. Like, I can legally rob them of both in the game.
Yeah.
There is cardboard that lets me just step on both of those things.
Absolutely.
I can violate Kyle's time, and I can violate his agency.
Totally.
Yeah. I probably should try to not to do that. If I just find it's not great for people.
Yeah.
Your ability, and your deck's ability. So respecting Kyle's ability to play, and really just the ability of Kyle's deck. If it's known, if it's new, I don't know how.
Sure, you don't
that.
know.
Meaning, like, Kyle's an experienced player. It's not really a thought of mine anymore, right? I don't really think this is too much for Kyle. But we have some people that are trying to get into the Commander again, where their abilities are not up to speed compared to mine and yours.
Right.
They don't sit here and talk about it on a podcast or make YouTube videos about
and
shit.
I would say even for us, it's been an evolution, right? Like when we first started podcasting, I was pretty anti-combo decks, but I've built my fair share of them at this point, and I grasp what comboing means more than I used to.
Yeah.
Like when we started this podcast, it evolves in
and how you want to do it, like how you want to combo.
Yeah.
But your ability is different than, let's say, somebody who's just come back to our game is Zach.
Yeah.
Zach's ability it's just not at the same level.
Yeah. He can sit down, knows how to play Magic, but his read of it's different.
Deck's ability, I could counterpick some of your stuff, dude.
Totally.
Like, I could do that. I could pick a commander or a deck out that just either moves at a pace that yours just isn't set up to do.
Right.
Or there's just something about the construction or commander or whatever where they just completely misalign. It's a mismatch.
Yeah.
It's a total mismatch.
Yeah.
I could do that, especially if I know your decks, which I do because we have this thing together and we play the same decks for a while. So, like a really heavy aggro deck against your Erebus deck, it'd be probably
it's a bad match for me.
If I'm just completely pointed your way, and my aim is to set out to knock this deck out, I could do that.
You could.
It's not even a smart play for me, but it steps on your deck's ability a little bit.
Yeah, there's tons of examples of this particular thing that I'm sure we can get into.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I think the next thing that we want to just be mindful of or respectful of is just the investment.
Yeah.
Maybe bring some of that part of the time back here too, but it's for us, you know, if you proxy, you know, dear viewer, listener, this doesn't probably really matter for you, but for us, if somebody got to put some money in, you know, some of the decks are pricey. And then the opposite is true too. If this is supposed to be like a budget experience for you, because this is all you had the appetite to spend, I probably shouldn't be busting something out that's going to go over its head in budget.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I are subscribers to budget and power are kind of go hand in hand a little bit.
Yeah, I would say in large part. I mean, there's obviously some other variables, but
yeah,
if you want that trend of power to go up, usually that involves coin.
Popular, expensive cards don't tend to be for their art.
Yeah.
You know, they tend to not be just
if they are, they're exceptionally rare prints.
Otherwise, like the Walking Dead Rick card probably would never have gotten to $50.
True story.
That art, that character, I don't think so.
Fresh hotness, right?
Yeah, you get me. But respecting your investment, is I think something that matters. I'm
interested to chat about that further as we get into that.
I think there's a nuance there.
Yeah.
I think the last two is respecting the format and the game.
Mm-hmm.
The format is becoming an abstraction for whoever is listening to it. Format to somebody who is really into the speedier, more competitive version of the format. It has a different character or a different spirit to somebody who they want to do their weird everybody's looking left deck or whatever. Their idea of the format.
Yeah, those are very different conceptions of the format.
Yeah. Like I think Airbus and Boeing have different ideas about what an airplane should be, but there's a huge Venn diagram where they're sitting in the middle of these things absolutely have to happen because a wing only works one way. And the jets only work one way.
One of them isn't working on altering the laws of physics.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, but where it comes to Commander, like the rules are only, you got to have 99 cards in your deck. You have a commander off to the side, color identity, whatever. But like once you get to the bottom of the list of those requirements, the bottom just falls out. Yeah. And there's a huge difference between someone's CEDH airplane and someone else's.
Yeah. It's almost like it's
tribal, janky type of stuff that people get into.
Yeah. True.
Right? But the format is something I think that we have to be respectful about. And I think for me, we'll get into it, but it's more like, I think we kind of preambled that. It's just a multiplayer thing. There's no stakes. There's not a...
Right.
Like, can we just have a respect for that, I guess, a little bit.
At the end of a game, you're going to go eat pizza with your friends, right?
Yeah. Right. I think I said this before, but like there's more at stake of me eating the last piece of veggie pizza
it's true.
To Kyle than what actually happened 10 seconds ago in the game. But you weren't freaking the fuck out when I took that last piece of veggie pizza. You were like, I'm kind of hungry. I guess I'll have to get something later.
Right.
Versus, I don't know, I farewelled your board. I farewelled your board. And the last one just being respecting the game, which I think is a kind of a check to everything that we've talked about. I think all of this stuff, if you want to start messing with it kind of gets in the way. You hear about these crazy ban lists from different shops. I think it's called there's one that circulates on the internet. You see this the list of banned cards, and it's I think it's this. It's like they don't respect the game anymore. That there is going to be unpleasant things that happen. And sorry, that's just how it goes. There, like you said, there is a winner, and that means there's losers. So
yeah, it's just the nature of having a game with a winner. You just
have to be mindful for it, or mindful of it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that sets us up pretty well?
I do. I like that roadmap in terms of things of just like overall, like there's a sense of things to respect in order to create a culture of enjoyment with this game, with this format. And I like those things that you outlined that we'll get into individually.
Yeah. We'll also back this up with just things that we've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's not just
it's not like we just had
philosophical
an idea.
mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. And things change. People's attitudes change. But I think this is something that it's experiential.
Yeah.
Most of it.
And as will be seen, there's some things we're not good at.
All right.
So yeah.
You ready?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Okay. Time and agency in our church.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I put down was we kind of just discouraged time and agency violating gameplay.
So what does that mean? Like, Because I think we've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but like, what does it mean to like violate?
The first thing I threw out here was excessive counter magic / removal that does not synergize with a game-winning direction.
Okay.
So I think that provision is in there because I am a believer that removal and just really the control archetype has its place in the game. It totally does, man. I'm definite, and it's not me trying to like curate an experience for myself because I tend towards that.
Yeah, you tend
style.
towards it,
but it's there for a reason because if it didn't exist, all we would be trying to do is just boost up and boost over each other. That's it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to think about a game of Commander like Mario Kart a little bit. I think I've used this analogy before in the podcast.
Okay.
You really are all moving at the same speed in Mario Kart. There's things you can do, like take corners better or do the A thing at the last second.
Sure.
Use your brake, like there's things. But like really, if no variables were put in, all the characters move at the same speed. They like Bowser moves at the same speed as Mario.
Yeah.
And it's only really the race that warps that fact. So if you think about Commander, a game of Commander, if the rules don't change, we're allowed to play one land a turn, draw a card at our upkeep, cast whatever we have available, and everything would just kind of move at that cadence.
Right.
And the cards introduce changes to that cadence. Like something as simple as a Phyrexian arena. It's like, well, hey, you're now ahead of everybody in the go-kart race because I'm starting my turn, losing a life, and picking up an extra card.
Yeah, you ran into the star and kind of star powered up a little bit.
But there's another piece of it, which is removal. If all you can do is, I got to go faster than Andy, well, then your only option is Necropotence or Sylvan Library or something. Like, that's your only option. So I just think that it over-caffeinates a play group or format or overheats it or whatever you want to call it, where removal is just too frowned on or just people bitch about it or it's just part of the game.
Sure. I really like that analogy of like at a baseline in this game, everybody does move at the same pace. But as you play the cards,
that changes.
It changes how you're handling the track of the game. And if you don't have something that can be the banana peel to those things, like it gets a little too wacky.
Right. Like by the time we're at the bottom, we're just ludicrous speed warp 11 through this race. It's just, we can't even it's just glitching the fuck out because we've
skin is peeling off as they're going into the wind.
Right. I think the way this is characterized with other like content people is it's like two ships passing in the night. Like they just, whoever gets there first is the thing. And I'm just not down with that. I think removal has its place. I think control has its place.
And to add to that, like there are so many variables that change that speed, right? Like your commander could just accelerate you in a way that
fuck yeah, I can.
Like that I maybe can't keep up with that. And so for me to just, I think this is just like a big lesson for people to kind of like calibrate when they're building their decks, that I sometimes find myself brewing a list thinking I'm going to be the problem with that list. And when I sit down and play with that list, I'm like, I'm not actually the problem. I probably need more control because somebody else, there's been too many games where somebody else is out in front of me.
Right.
Like I thought this was going to be the issue deck, but it's not.
There's different philosophies. Some people are all about the, like, I just lean in, man. I just send it. I commit. I lock in. That's what I do. Great. That's your thing.
If that's your thing.
There's other people that want like a Swiss Army knife type deck.
Yeah.
I think we did an episode where it's like, I don't think that's always the right thing to do depending on what you're after.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is that for the environment, the control and removal needs to be there.
Yeah.
It just, I think it has to be there.
It makes sense.
But to what end? That's the thing I guess this section's for.
Yeah.
If the deck is just loaded with removal and control because you think it's funny or I don't know, right? Like Cameron from Ferris Bueller. I don't know who you are. You just can't let things play out a little bit.
Right.
and you're not and engaging in control plays where you are denying someone permanence, denying someone permission, removing permanence, whatever, getting in their way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't forward your game plan. That's where I think we're just not okay with it at our table. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you benefit and it's furthering your game plan, then that's something different. To me, it's a control deck. Like we're taking damage and we're losing stuff.
I think holding on that a little bit, like, because just watch it, like think about the times you've observed the people you're sitting at the table with when you've unnecessarily used counter magic or control spells, and like watch what was the adjustment in their attitude? They probably started to get a little sour at you, right?
You counter my brother and it's whatever he's got next is coming your way.
I mean, a conversation that's going on at our table all the time is like, why are you managing me?
Yeah.
So-and-so is actually the problem.
Yeah.
And because the line between, like respecting people's time and agency is, I think, kind of razor thin. Where it's like, yeah, that is an important move potentially based off the information you have. But right now I might perceive it as unnecessary when you could have been doing that to Brad.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's so razor thin, and people's like, I think our group seems to do well when we see that the outcome ended up being right. Right. Like, oh yeah, you actually should have controlled me. I was about to get there, and clearly Brad took a few more turns before you actually got there, but
you're right,
it's razor thin. I think
it has its place. Let's give two examples, like of two extremes, I think, to make it hopefully a little clearer. I have a really bad example of where control, I just don't get it. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And then I have one where I'm like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's there, it's working for the person. Do you remember Brad's Urtai the Corrupted deck?
Yeah, that deck was it was a treat.
Yeah. Urtai the Corrupted, just to like remind people what this guy was about. He was the Esper commander, 2, a white, a blue, and a black for a wizard legendary wizard, right? 3/4, you could pay blue and tap, sacrifice a creature or an enchantment, and counter target spell.
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing to have in your command zone. I found. I think initially what Brad liked about it was he could sacrifice recursive enchantments or recursive creatures, a la reassembling skeleton, to protect whatever he's trying to set up at any time.
Yes.
So I think if you're set it out to put some convoluted Esper style value combo board state, and you have this just kind of out there to counter whatever anybody's going to do, then sure. But what it ended up mutating into was whoever was right before him in the turn cycle, their shit just wasn't going to get through.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't going to get through. He'd permissioned it away.
Yeah.
Because he's waited. He sat on all
he
this mana.
has something that he can get back on his turn. So why waste it?
Why waste it? If he has reassembling skeleton, Urtai out, why would he waste it?
Right.
He held up all this mana and held up all this ways to do it. And he would like get a lot of tokens, ways to untap him.
Yeah.
It was kind of annoying. And in the end, it was a control into a combo finish. Went back when we had tutors available to us.
Yeah.
So it's not like it didn't win, but
it was a long time usually to get to it.
Yeah, man. It could be anything else. Like it could be anything else. To my mind, it just wasn't going anywhere. So what ended up happening was we just focused his ass out.
Yeah. And I feel like that commander could have been something where it's like, it could be like an oh shit button. Like, oh, that's really going to fuck with me. I'm only countering those types of things. But it was not that deck.
It's just not even an efficient one. Right?
Yeah.
It's 5 mana to get out.
Yeah.
You have to wait a whole cycle before you can start using
then
it.
Blue and tap.
Short of haste. Blue tap and then sack an enchantment or a creature.
Yeah.
It's so inefficient to stop one fucking spell from hitting the table.
Right.
Do you remember like the game we were playing where he died to a commander eventually?
I think it was Nath, actually.
Nath of the Guilt Leaf, another kind of control-y deck.
Yeah.
Tiff just kept attacking him because she was right before him in the cycle. And he just wouldn't block. He's a 3/4. It was a bad trade, right? Or not even a trade. It was a bad block.
Yeah.
And she eventually killed him. I think she boosted it at the last second, but he took so many combat steps from Nath.
Yeah, I mean, he literally had taken like 6 combats from Nath. Like, it wasn't like a short path that she had taken.
I don't remember what he was using to sack. It could have been something that couldn't block or something, like a blood ghast, or I don't remember, but we just thought it was funny that like you're so afraid of losing your board state that you're just throwing your life away. And at commander damage. And then at the last second, she got something where Nath jumped up. Like he thought he had more time than he did. And he actually lost to her doing that. Yeah. And I don't know if that was the last game he played with it, but control is not my brother's strong suit, I don't think. Sure. Because he goes overboard with it. It's either gonna be as hard as any kind of like aggro or combo deck he makes. Yeah. So I think this is just a really bad example of a control deck. Do you think
I agree, because that one was like, despite the fact he did have combo win cons that existed in the deck, it was always a long time of him just getting in the way.
And we just got sick of it.
Before he finally did just do it.
Yeah. Can you think of any other bad ones?
In terms of like just control.
Do you remember Cody's run with Talrand?
Yeah, I was going to say that's one that does stand out to me, as Cody's run with Talrand a little bit. I don't remember the volume of counter spells that he had.
It was really high.
But it was high.
It was a weird era in the meta. I was playing Mizzix, and Mizzix was pretty tough to beat without somebody just to counter what I was up to, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
This is years ago. But Cody made a mono blue Talrand counterspell deck is really what it was.
He was, I think, winning with combat from the Drakes that emerged from that.
But it couldn't keep up. Like the 1-to-1 nature of using a counterspell to answer anything.
Yeah.
And the 2 people who weren't countered coming out on top of that interaction, it caught up with him every game, even with your Drake. So often the Drake was used to block and keep his life total intact, not put himself back on the front foot and take the initiative. I think the opposite isn't great for Talrand, where it's just cantrip deck. I think you're just waiting for a board wipe or something like that to take you out, especially if you're like, I don't have any counter magic. I think the blend of the two is the right Talrand deck. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah.
But he didn't win like ever with that thing.
No.
Ever.
No, it was very rare.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as the Urtai situation, but it just wasn't good, man. It just wasn't good.
I think another one that fits into this category in terms of like agency with this is one of my early runs with the Kenrith twins.
Yes.
So one of the abilities,
you had a couple versions of that. Didn't you?
One of the abilities on Will Kenrith allows you to target 2 creatures and turn them into, I think, 0/3s. But the big thing is they lose no abilities.
Yeah.
And so I could functionally neuter 2 and it was until my next turn.
God, I hated that.
So
shit,
it would go around.
That ability is so good for him.
It's so good, but it's so annoying, right? Because
does it bring his loyalty up when you do that?
Yeah, let me look him up just so I can make sure.
I think it does. I think it brings his loyalty up.
So it's 4 blue for Planeswalker Will. And it comes in with 4 counters, the +2 abilities until your next turn, up to 2 target creatures, each have base power and toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities. So really, I could make it so that 2 people's commanders were useless.
Yeah. It was pretty good. It was pretty good, dude.
And it's really good, but man, did Andy get depressed during those games. Because that was in an era when you and I were kind of at each other quite a bit.
That's true.
And almost always your commanders were neutered. As soon as I got Will out, like you just didn't get to use your commander.
Yeah.
And it was kind of indeterminate. It wasn't like I put Will out and I'm like, I'm about to win. It was just, I'm going to neuter your commander, which is integral to your deck.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future.
That deck was rough because if I was playing a deck that people found threatening, they were just like, okay to let you just do it. And now I don't have a lot of the time a creature that can put
pressure on
pull loyalty off of fucking Will.
Yeah.
And the rest of your deck was equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, it was.
It's not like you were only relying on that loyalty
No.
ability. But once people decided to go on your planeswalkers, you got like irritated.
I did.
And it's
Because
just
you
like,
were
what do want us to
campaigning
do?
too.
Oh yeah.
But rightfully so, because I think that is a scenario where it was in service of, I really did want Will's emblem, which says, when you go on the infinite, which is you remove 8 counters, and it says you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it, and you can choose new copies.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty potent. And then the real dream was with Rowan, where it said if you activated an ability, she had her emblem that if you activated ability, you double it. So you could get 2 of these emblems. Yeah. That's what I really wanted. But the journey there was littered with just people having neutered commanders and just not having fun.
You just couldn't lose control of these two.
No.
They're too much mana.
No.
If we finally zone them, you're just...
Yeah, it was a big investment on my part, and it really just didn't make for fun gameplay, because I basically was telling you guys, you can't play your game the way you want to for the foreseeable future, and I'm just going to do me.
And that control, I guess, only vaguely advanced your strategy.
Yeah,
and
only
his
vaguely.
Loyalty went up. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if you could just proliferate .deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a weird... that's a good example. Okay, a good example, I think, of a control deck that at least I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Brad fucking hates this deck, dude. He hates it. Chris's Carmen Cruel Skymarcher.
Yeah.
3 white and a black for a 2/2 legendary creature vampire soldier. Flying whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen Cruel Skymarcher, and you gain 1 life. And then whenever Carmen attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from the graveyard to the battlefield.
Those are pretty dope abilities.
So you flesh bag. That would just be like the lowest case scenario, right? You cast a flesh bag, she picks up 4 counters, you gain 4 life, and then if she attacks, you flesh bag again because she can just pull it right back. It's pretty heavy. I like this though because she picks up the counters.
Yes.
The vector is she's growing in power. Mm-hmm. The threat of a Voltron kill is getting nearer and nearer. The more of this is
plus she's collecting other bodies along the way too, right?
Yeah, she benefits from the action of control.
Yeah,
Urtai, it's sack outlet, I guess, loosely like that. It didn't do what I just can't connect the dot there. Where here I'm like, oh well, it's just she's now +4 off that 1 flesh bag. Yeah. You've gained 4 life, and now she's coming back at me. And as soon as she attacks, it goes off again. So if there's more creatures to feed into her, she actually goes up even more.
Yeah, you could get her.
I'm close to click. Yeah, I'm close to, if not at the clock with that. Like that's control with a direction to me,
which I really like that.
Yeah, and what I really like about her is that she manages treasures really well.
That's true.
People just eating treasures in our meta.
She's like, nom,
she's growing and growing. Like Chris doesn't even say anything. He just ticks it up and gains his life. Like you should know she's out.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to be using treasure.
I declared my commanders out.
There's been games where, Tiff or Brad or even like Edis has been, how the fuck did she get this big? And he's like, all of the treasures you've been using. I'm not getting new information. We tend to tell people like, oh, I draw a card or something. Right. But like I gain a life. I put a counter on her. But he just starts ticking her up because you should know, dude. She's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So I really like this as okay, well, you're controlling for sure in the form of edicts or like I think he even uses like the seal of it's like the white.
Oh yeah, like the seal of primordium or seal like
the white one. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But still stuff like that where you can just sack it, or he like evokes things like evoke will work to remove something.
Yeah, that one's green, but whatever.
Yeah. So I think it's a good example of control with the
there's
direction.
A direction from it.
What do you think about my Smasher and Galandra deck? That's control for sure. That deck is set up to control. Yes, but
because you have something in the zone that is lowering life totals with your first spell each time, I think.
Yeah. It's pretty loose.
I think it's pretty excusable.
It's at random. If winning was the objective,
It's one of those ones that's borderline, right? Because I think everybody has a sense that you need to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a complicated proposition because you have control in the deck.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I would say there's that, right? Like I shoot a spell that controls things, something like, I don't know, Windgrace's Judgment or whatever that card is. I smash for 5. I do the removal. We do the removal. And someone's life total went down by 5. That's a direction.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing I'm really driving for, which is it's in everyone's mind, is Skullstorm. Like if I manage the board and you guys actually kill my commanders off, Galandra or Smasher, and then I recast them, that Skullstorm is just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And the less you have on board, the harder it's going to hit.
Yeah.
Probably take you out if I can land it.
Yeah. I mean, like I think for me, and this may be a metric to kind of be aware of when it comes to this, is like, do people land in this space? Because whenever I am in a game against your Smasher and Galandra deck, I don't, if I feel just like utterly controlled, I anticipate that you're about to win.
Okay, well then I'm doing it right.
Which is how
we've
which is how
it.
it's supposed to be done. Like, I don't think I've ever found myself playing against that deck where, because there is a moment sometimes in games where you're utterly wiped out and you don't feel like you can resolve anything, right? Like, so we used to have this experience against Savra sometimes, right? Or against Charade.
Good Lord.
Where you would get to a point with a game against Charade where you don't have any creatures left.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like you can resolve them fast enough to keep any of them against him.
Yeah.
And you don't have any cards in hand and you don't feel like you could draw them fast enough to still keep them.
You can't ever. Who could draw faster than Charade can force you to discard?
Right. And so it always kind of, but quite regularly, you just kind of felt like you needed to sit around for 3 or 4 turns for the game to end, being able to do nothing. And I've never had that experience to my knowledge or to my recollection against Smasher, where like everything's gone and I don't feel like I can re-resolve. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that to me is an important thing.
I don't do hand attack.
Yeah.
I'm not attacking your hand.
Yeah.
Your permanents are definitely not safe for me, but I'm not really getting into your hand. I don't think too much outside of
and it's not reliant on activated
punishment.
abilities because you need casts for Smasher, right? So it's not like, because one of the big things with control is like repeated activated abilities, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And if you can see some naked activated ability that's repeatable, that's oftentimes where you're like, okay, I just don't feel like I can play anymore because
it's a lock.
That's out. I'm locked out, right? Like Smasher doesn't give me that feeling.
Right. Think of anything else? Do you think that covers us?
Yeah, I think those are some interesting examples to illustrate
excessive counter magic / removal when you don't really have a game plan for why you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. You could tell me like, well, it's control into a combo finish. And I'd say, all right.
Sure.
And then we just have to say, okay, well then I guess we should say this also. We're not saying you can't. Just get ready for the Playgroup just to push back. Right. In the form of aggro or a concerted effort to knock you the fuck out. Like the Urtai deck got unplayable for him because we're just not okay with it. We never asked him to take it apart. We never said, you can't do that, dude. A floating counterspell into your command zone. Like we figured it out, but and I think he just kind of knows not to try that again.
Yeah. I think that's what you're getting at is the culture of it, right? Like we culturally solved those decks.
It was like faux pas. Was frowned upon.
Yeah, you're not playing Urtai because we will kill you.
Yeah.
I'm not playing Will and Rowan Kenrith because I will die.
You got like just shunned off the beat farm.
Right.
Mana denial. Let's just get this one out of the way. Like sooner rather than later. I just want to replace the word opponent with friend here for just this conversation, okay? So denying mana is to deny your friends the ability to use the cards they've selected for their strategy, the cards they paid for, right? They just can't play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need mana to do most everything, if you're not spending, I don't know, like free spell after free spell after free spell, like you need to be able to play lands. I don't know if I told you this story like a long time ago. There was this girl that me and Harris worked with, and me and him were playing Magic at our desks in our pod together, and she wanted to learn how to play. So he sat her down, gave her his deck, and was walking her through the plays, you know, and I'm playing along. So it's a strong deck. He knew what the fuck he was doing. Yeah. He's just kind of puppeteering her. I guess, you know, that's all we had on hand, right? And she was being annoying, so we're going to shut her up and give her the deck. But he's like, all right, now you want to play a land. Why? Like, she looked up at why do I want to do that?
Why would I play a land?
Well, it's the resource. And this is what he said. It's the resource you need to play the game. That's what he said. We were playing 2 modern decks. I think he had modern, like it was like mono white modern aggro or something, and I was playing Rakdos. It was my shitty aristocrats thing back in the day. Dirty aristocrats. It was just like a modified version of that.
Yeah.
But she like was there advantage for not playing a land? And he's like, not that I can think of right now. Just play the land. Like, she was really hung up on this, you know? And so as the game progressed, he kind of showed her like, see, now you're able to do more in a turn, where before you could only do 1 thing a turn. Now you're able to do 2 things a turn because you've managed to drop a land every turn. Yeah. So the game is speeding up. It's heading towards its finish line with or without us. Right. Because we have mana. Right. The only other like pressure valve on this is that we run out of cards, and whoever does that first loses when they attempt to draw. Yeah. Like, the game wants to finish itself. Yeah. By accelerating things. You get it? Like, and the way it's doing that is mana. Mana is required to play the cards that you paid for. Yeah. You know, whether you like running 30 lands in your commander deck or not, you still need at least
you still need them.
You still know at least 30% of your deck is paying homage to the fact that you need mana.
That resource is required.
Yeah. So we're talking about stacks, mana denial. I don't think we have a lot of stories about this. We learned pretty quick that it was a time waster for everybody to engage in it. I think the first time anyone stepped on this was me. It was Derevi. I would play something like, I don't know, Winter Orb, and then I would have a bunch of evasive, low to the ground flying men hit you and untap all my lands and have a regular turn. Right. Create a mess. This is what stacks is, right? You create a mess for everyone at the table, and you find a way to either get completely out of it or just enough out of it where you're able to eke out a little bit of advantage. I have a lot of respect for the strategy. I really do. It's kind of neat.
It is actually like an elegant dance to make it work, right?
A good stacks deck is a really, I like the word elegant. It can be. It just is only good for the person playing it, in my experience.
Yeah, because like the moment with that first incursion with stacks, with Derevi, which said whenever one of your creatures dealt combat damage, you could tap or untap something. So like you would have something that would allow us to untap 1 land per turn. So like we would save, right? So we're like, I've been saving my untaps, and I've got 4 lands up, and you would use a turn to just tap them all down. Yes. And it was just like, oh my God. Even when you're spending 3 or 4 turns saving your untaps, it could just be taken away like that. And it was just like, oh, like even this 1 card that I had to wait 3 turns to play. No,
exactly.
You don't.
Exactly. Or you introduce something like Pendrel Mists into it where, okay, well, if you want to keep your creatures, you need to pay 1 at your upkeep. Right. But I've created a situation where your options are either limited or non-existent because of the deck I've played. The locks are starting to like lock up everything. Right. It just takes a long time to get through. And that's coming from 2 players who enjoy long games. You and I do.
Yeah, it's true.
If you kind of think about the stuff we were talking about, well, a lot of this episode will be kind of cluing you into, they like kind of longer games.
Kind of do enjoy them, yeah.
But not this type of, not this route. It's just only one person is playing the game. You know, we've said this before, like don't invite people over to play games with you to watch you jerk off. Like do that alone.
It really kind of is that, right? Where it's just like,
get a Moto account and do that there. Sign up for Magic Online. Do that there, And then, I don't know, Brazzers is free, everybody. You heard it right. Brazzers is free. Do that. Do those two things by yourself is our thing. Your Brago deck. That's a little different than Derevi. I think it was more of a convulsion to how Brago was going, and your solution was to use it.
Yeah. But I have to admit, I did buy some of the harder stacks cards than even you had used.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was like, I'm going to go full lock on you guys where you're not untapping anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use Brago's ability to blink all my mana rocks. And
you're just completely out.
So I'm totally available to mana and you guys have zero.
It's smart. You manage your mana curve. Well, you only need maybe 3 to 4 mana to accomplish anything in a given turn.
Mm-hmm.
And these mana rocks get flickered and the stasis.
Yeah.
And we're locked and you're really not. And you're just operating on, you're able to play Magic and you're just not letting us play.
Yeah. Which is, that's why you goldfish on your deck building side of your choice. That's not what you get your friends together for.
Right. So mana denial isn't something that's explicitly, we've never said don't put them in your deck, but just get ready for people just not to want to play against this deck, dude.
Yeah.
And if it's happening every weekend, I think eventually people will just, it never got to that point. I took Derevi apart in that way. You pulled back on
I just
Brago.
took it apart because there was nowhere else to go.
There was nowhere else to, well, and we just got ahead of it even still. Brago, I think, it really met its natural end. Like we would just aggro the fuck out of you, remove any, it was almost like a 1v1 arch enemy game. Like the minute you resolve something, destroyed.
Yeah.
We wouldn't wait. We wouldn't
Yeah.
politic. It was just Kyle versus the world.
Yeah, because there's no, you know what's coming. Like there's no point, right?
Yeah, I won't play this game if you're here.
Which I think that's a side note. That's a good indicator that your deck maybe needs to have a revision or go. If every time you sit down with it, everybody dogpiles you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
You
good
would resolve
indicator.
like a Worn Power Stone, and I'd be panicking. Like we need to get it.
Yeah, because if I can blink that, that's mana.
Exactly. I'm like, that has to go.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get locked down, our best option is to keep him locked with us.
Yes.
Then collectively, I think we can pull it off. And you just got tired of doing it.
Yeah, it's lame.
So mana denial is
we
is
do
the
some
thing.
things in our group in this thing that I think straddles this a little bit. Like
Okay. Tell me.
There's occasional use of cards like Damping Sphere.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So
fuck yeah.
So like Damping Sphere, it's 2 mana for an artifact, and it says if a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces a waste instead of any other type of an amount.
Yeah.
And then each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that player casts this turn. So it just kind of slows the roll
of the player who's casting the most.
Yeah, of the player that's casting the most.
Or they found a way to produce double mana.
Yeah, also that.
Which,
so
fuck them.
Those are 2 things where it's like, okay, but you're playing in excess. I'm not taking the game away from you, but like you're not going to storm off.
Yeah.
You're not going to, untap your lands with your double mana producer and give me, give yourself 18 mana this turn. Like that's not happening. Like we will use cards like that. I don't know that it's been used very often, but like we have done occasionally like a Curse of Exhaustion in our play group, which which
those
limits
are like
a player
right up
to
there, huh? Where you're only allowed 1 spell a turn.
Yeah, 1 turn or
Rule.
1 spell a turn.
Yeah, rule
so
of law effects.
There is a little bit of this that I think we dabble in, but I think our group tries to be judicious about who needs that banana peel thrown in front of their car, their cart.
I use them. Damping Sphere is in my Troyan list because I'm likely only really to resolve 1 bomb.
Because you got big stompy guys.
If you're playing, just go to the highest mana value deck.
Yeah.
You want to just get up there. Damping Sphere is great because you're not going to resolve 2 5 mana spells a turn. You're going to do 1 6 and 1 7 and sometimes an 8 and you just pass it. And it really holds back people who are very mana rock dependent. They're really leaning on, like, it basically just sets the mana rocks to, like you just use mana for the next turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it manages aristocrats really well too.
Yeah.
Because the weaving of creating treasure and creating Eldrazi spawn, like they have to use it just to stay neutral.
Yes.
And the more they do, they fall behind because the damping sphere is getting higher and higher and higher.
Yeah, the cost is...
I'm okay with it. I love it.
Yeah, I think those are some good examples of like, they do have some kind of place in the culture of our group, right? Like,
but they get to undertap their lands.
Yeah.
They get a whole fucking spell.
Yeah.
And if they have an excess amount of mana already by some other way, they'll play around it.
Yeah.
It just kind of reins in the right decks for me.
Yes.
Deafening Silence. If it's a really creature dense deck with white, you get one non-creature spell a turn. Just make sure it's a good one.
Right.
Don't waste your time pondering in front of me. Don't do it.
Yeah. So
I'm not going to watch you cantrip.
I do think some people may consider these mana denial, but like, I think they're in that range where it maintains respect in our group still.
Yeah. And what's interesting about these spells, and what I've heard, is that opponents will leave them out because they think it's raining in the other two. So like Chris has told me a bunch of times, man, that dampening sphere is really, and then you'll watch him like look over at Brad, and Brad's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, like he's just twitching out, wanting it to get destroyed so he can just pop off. Yeah, dude, that damping sphere fucking sucks, right? And Chris is like, yeah, pass. And he'll just give the turn away.
You're kind of like, I could use an ibuprofen, but you're looking over at that person. I'm like, maybe we shouldn't do drugs. Like, you don't need any more.
That 8-ball looks really good, doesn't it? Yeah, dude. Brad will drain that shit right away. But he's more than happy to wait for Chris to use his Chaos Warp or whatever. Yeah. I think that actually happened where he kept passing and making a comment about it, and eventually he warped something else of mine, and Brad's like, why not the damping sphere? And he's like, I don't know. I think I didn't like it at first, but I think I'm okay. I'm all right. It's just he wanted to yak out a bunch of crazy spells in a turn, and this thing just kept getting, governing his turn, dude. It was like he just couldn't get through it. Yeah. Or the Deafening Silence. I think I had that down playing Gilwain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just enough where I think it's going to get removed, but everybody thinks it's holding off the other person.
Right.
It's bad for me, but it's also bad for Kyle. It's also bad for Tiff. So I guess I'll just ride it out. Right?
It is always kind of funny to be like,
that happens
is
sometimes.
It a worse problem for them than it is for me?
Right.
I'll let them deal with it.
But no one's going to do that with Winter Warp, dude. I don't think everyone's like, we're just going to get rid of it, right? Let's just get it. Yeah. Let's just talk about the opposite direction of this, which I don't love to bring this into it, but I think it matters sometimes, which is excessive speed.
Okay.
This probably is more equal to the budget of things.
Sure.
Right. So some decks just move at a pace that trivialize anything the other decks can do at the table.
Yeah.
To stop them, or just even have the experience of their own deck. It's sort of like getting mana screwed or something like that.
Right.
It doesn't happen a lot around here, but I think that the stories that I've got, like the two examples, just to kind of drive home what I'm trying to get at, was Brad's Winota list, that Winota deck. It just was really fast. It was really, really, really fast. We could not suffer it to have any setup whatsoever. My favorite Winota deck story was I had Knight of Souls Betrayal out, and I was running it a lot because we had a lot of tokens just running wild in our meta. Tiff was playing Elenda, still is. Chris had a bunch of token decks. You had a bunch of token decks, and it was really effective in Glissa the Trader. Yeah, because I didn't want you guys sacking tokens. This is before they kind of were giving everyone sacks a non-token creature. Yeah, so I just was like, I'm gonna make them really difficult to hold on to.
Yeah,
but I got this thing out on turn 4, and I was earlier in the turn cycle, so it was before Brad could get Winota down or something.
Yeah,
and he just got stopped. All of his create 3 goblins.
Yeah,
create 2 devils or whatever he used it from the sorceries to make non-humans. Almost all of them were 1/1s.
Yeah,
2 spirits or 2 human, whatever. He couldn't even have this enchantment out, right?
No.
And we went, all the way around the table, and I was having a really great game. I was kind of a bad matchup for me because it's a heavy control deck, and he is just going to aggro the fuck out of me the minute he can. And he was begging everyone. He wasn't finding interaction for it. He was begging everyone, like, get rid of it, and Andy's out of this fucking game because his hand is just getting more and more sculpted.
Yeah, he's just getting the best of the best in his hand.
And I just don't have a way to like get damage on him yet. You know, I haven't been able to find my like combo piece, you know, just to get damage in on him. I was trying to Mindslaver lock him. I want to talk about like robbing people of agency, but that's what I was trying to do, you know? And finally, I think it was Chris. He's like, I'll get rid of it.
Ooh.
He destroyed the enchantment. We got to Brad's turn. I got knocked the fuck out. Like, and then he got
just in one turn. He's just like turns.
He went from
corner.
0 to 90. You know, it was like, he just completely bricked me out of the game.
Yeah.
Got to one more turn of him. He took the other two with him right after that. It was a complete thankless job. He took me out and then took the other two out. She's just really potent is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think she just kind of falls into the like Azami Lady of Scrolls dimension where she's really strong for I don't know how you don't build her cracked.
Right.
Even on a budget.
Right.
It's just cracked. Like it's a really
it's not
crazy
quite
ability.
like in that fits in with the most competitive decks, but like it's just a little too good.
Yeah. Right? What is she? 4 mana for a 4/4 legendary creature human warrior. Whenever a non-human creature you control attack, look at the top 6 cards of your library.
Which is a good clutch.
You may put a human card from among them into the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, it's totally wild. Just totally wild.
Yeah.
You just rip. It's for every one of them. If you have 3 goblins, you're looking at 6, then 6, then 6, and just human. It's just crazy. Yeah, it just moved at a speed that just the rest of the meta wasn't capable of reining in on.
Right.
We eventually started camping it pretty hard. Like it turned into like Brago, but in reverse. You'd see one goblin and you're like, it's got to die.
Yeah, like that means some human that's going to just fucking dump out.
Exactly. It just everybody was just camping his ass. So we didn't say, get rid of Winota. It was like, we all just decided we're not going to suffer a Winota game ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole game became deal with Winota.game.
Yeah, like, so I think there's that response. And then I think there's other decks that we've had that have kind of hit this speed threshold that, people just kind of get bummed when they're like, oh, you have a winning board state and I've resolved like a ramp spell and a support creature and maybe my commander.
Yeah.
Like, if other people are at that point of the game, but you've got a winning board state, like, it just kind of gets awkward.
Yeah. It was fast.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, I think, a collective clutch of 3 decks that could be like, all right, let's all just kind of move at this speed.
Yeah, because sometimes you could just select, let's all play a fast paced game if you've got the decks for it, right? Like that is an option.
Yeah.
Or just get rid of it.
It was just a weird fit. Do you have any other ones that you can think of that were like just either the construction of what was in the deck just moved way too quick for everybody?
I don't have a specific example that I want to bring up, but I do think this is one area that I think is really hard to hit the ideal with, right? Because I don't think it's an uncommon experience to brew a deck, sit down and play it, and it actually plays faster than you thought it was going to. I think that does happen, right? Like I think your Samwhat deck did that, right? Like back in the day where
Samwhat was wild.
Yeah, like I think you knew it was going to be fast. I just don't think you realized how fast until you sat down and played it. And I think that's an easy thing to have happen. Yeah. And it can just sort of be a little bit weird. And then I think the other thing is just like picking your matchup sometimes can be, ameliorate this issue.
Yeah. That was a pretty extreme example of just a really fast aggro deck. Do you remember my Tormod and Dargo deck?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one is like, I think,
and
more,
it was on 2 axes too, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wouldn't move as fast as Winota in that somebody's life total is just coming down very quickly.
Right.
It just got really hard to hold on to anything because you have like this floating sack outlet in the zone and a guy who could just like kind of make a zombie to feed back into this sack outlet loop. So really, like, the way I made the deck was I just need to find a way to produce red mana, and I could just take the game over with Dargo getting infinitely sacking itself and seeing its backlog of sacrificed creatures and or treasures. You know, this is like before like the treasure revolution, right? Before we found
That's
like
true.
That's Spanish ship full of fucking gold.
Here comes Dargo for that.
Yeah,
huh?
no kidding. Like the design team just found One-Eyed Willie in his like treasure trove in the last couple of years. But it really just took over quick because it was a infinite in the zone. And that's, I think, the reason
and
why.
one of the things I would contend is that even if it didn't, the fact that you had like, because Dargo's a 7/6, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 7/6 in the zone that you can get out pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah, he's got trample too.
Because he has trample.
Yeah.
So your thing was, I think rightfully you were like, because I'm comboing, there's going to be pressure on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't, like, so I think sometimes we do in our group with Voltrons is people will kind of spread it around so everybody gets to participate. There's not somebody pushed out early and just sitting around. But you wouldn't do that with Dargo.
No.
You would latch on to somebody because you're like, I'm comboing, so 2 players is better than 3 to deal with. And so there was almost always somebody that was out of the game early.
Who's got islands?
While you were getting ready to find your combo.
Yeah. It was a pretty crazy deck for the meta at the time. I didn't keep it very long, even though I was really proud of what I built. It's just...
Yeah, it's a cool deck.
It's the infinite from the zone. It's like that's a speed thing. It's a speed, it adds to your speed quotient when you only need to find 2 components and you always have access to one of them, or 3 components and you always have access to one of them. So it kind of violated something I don't like doing for myself, which is it's just a combo piece right away. I use my commanders as combo pieces here and there.
Sure.
But I don't know, like, the level of convolution I'm okay with. Like, how many steps end commander? And that was like 2 1-to-1. You know?
Because like I've got Tashar, but it's like I need 4 or 5 cards to combo with
and
that.
Tashar? Or
usually,
3 and Tashar.
Usually there's some that are 3 plus Tashar, but most of them are 4 plus Tashar.
Yeah. That was the other piece. Is like all I needed to do was find a way to produce red, thermopod, Phyrexian altar, something that leaves a treasure behind now. You know, there's a new sack outlet, the goblin. I mean, I'll lose life, but whatever. Like it was just
a fucking pirate.
It was really lubricated. It went off.
Yeah.
All right. Grave Pack's in the middle now. And it's just, it would just tear people up. Or Vicious Shadows. I would have enough mana to do both somehow because he's only 1 red. And okay, everyone's just taking life like crazy. It was a cool list, but it just moved way too quick, I think. And so I got pressured like crazy. What I got back was Cameron was like, I have no choice but to just assume you have that combo piece in your opening hand. So I'm going to treat it like you do.
Yeah.
I'm going to just come after you, remove anything I can that will keep you off from it. And that's the culture pushing back on what I'm doing.
Yeah. The other thing that was hard with that one is that the sack outlet was stapled to a commander who can leverage it in the zone, right? Like, because usually one way to disrupt, usually one way to disrupt those types of combos is to deal with the sack outlet, but you can't in that case. So it was fast and kind of opaque.
It was crazy. If you fucked me on that turn though, his tax was like, just in this, and that was my excuse the whole time. But everyone's like, but bro, the only person that could do that is probably a blue player,
right?
Depending on the situation, and you already killed him a lot of the time. So, and that's just another thankless, shitty position to be in. I'm only here to provide the counterspell for when Andy's about to dick out his Dargo, right?
Yeah,
like it was. I don't know. It just didn't fit. So I didn't keep it very long. Yeah. Do those feel like good excessive
Yeah.
speed stories?
Yeah, I like those.
I'm
I
all
like those.
about having a fast deck, but hopefully it's not to the point where the whole game space is warping around you. We have fast decks that are in our meta
Yeah.
currently.
And I think people know how to play if they're at the table.
Like Chris's Ruby.
Yeah.
That's a fast one. It'll get on you pretty fast.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I don't know, man. He has to kind of gauge on who he's going to try to throw these big creatures at. He kind of needs to find haste a little bit. It doesn't become this just self-perpetuating deluge of like humans or Dargos. It doesn't become that. It's just like, hey, here's some big stuff. My Death Leaper deck has like bursty starts. It's kind of in the commander, right? Like if they come down that turn, they have double strike. So it's like, okay, they have haste. Like, but
I think the difference with those is that you could find yourself as an opponent to those decks looking around the table and you're like, shit, I'm at 20 life and it's turn 5 and everybody else is in the 30s still. Like that happened kind of quick, but like you're still in the game, right? Like,
yeah,
I think that's a difference.
And if the other things are happening the way they should, like hopefully there's some elements of control here because that's something that we're kind of okay with.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's playing, like if I'm playing Smasher, it's probably a good matchup against Ruby. Like he's got to solve my 99.
Yeah.
He can't just do his thing and it's just banger after banger. Like it's not gonna work out for him. Right?
Yeah.
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 Should we move on to the next
let's
thing?
do.
Respecting the abilities of our different church members and their decks.
Yeah.
I've got decks. I think I'm able, right? I've played a lot of Commander, but I've got decks that are just not able. They're not able to deal with or do things or accomplish a lot in a game.
Yeah.
That's my own fault sometimes. Like it shouldn't be your problem if I'm playing Gormal Drak. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I do think
who just pumps out salamanders for my opponents.
I do think the group can be cognizant of like, hey, is there a particular kind of game someone is interested in having?
Yeah.
Right. Like I have some lower powered decks that I just like playing them.
Right.
They're just kind of
like your Gruul will deck. It's
just not a great deck. It can do some damage, but is so lacking in resilience. It cannot recover.
Yeah.
Like, but I just kind of want to play it sometimes.
Yeah.
And
I'm okay to see it. I don't need you to play some hard ass deck every time.
Right.
But what I shouldn't be doing as your opponent is picking something that I know is just going to step right on it.
Right.
Because we all sit down and we don't do the whole like reveal commander. Yeah. This one's hard to do. We're really inconsistent with this one, candidly.
We really are.
Let's talk about decks first, and we'll talk about players because we're already there, right? There's just different decks that their just ability is all over the place. Like Brad has a Be'lakor Demon Kindred list.
Yeah.
It's a really late stage list. He's really looking to kind of like get the demons out, turn over turn, hopefully get Be'lakor down. We usually kind of get rid of that right away. And then everything goes to the graveyard, and then he does some big mass reanimation. That seems to be the pattern of the deck.
Yeah.
I could really get underneath that deck with a lot of mine. They just either wouldn't have time to see that journey, or the crucial things that he's looking to do, my deck just blocks.
Right.
Like to give an example, I don't know if I just sat down with Naban, right? Like Naban bounces things like crazy. Like they're never going to go to his graveyard. They're just going to be back in hand over and over and over again. And I'm not even really winning, dude. I'm just here and
You're
I'm
just fucking with him.
Yeah, but like it's very likely that his targets are the ones I want to bounce. I'll bounce my own wizard and your fucking demon, okay, Brad?
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, that sounds
or multiples,
juicy.
And as I get more and more of those triggers, okay, I'm going to do roaming, throne naming, wizard, and now we're going to bounce a bunch of times, and he just can't realize
never gets to play.
Yeah, like he's kind of expecting them to get destroyed because that's like the classic way to clear someone's board.
Right.
Not, it's back in hand, and it's back in hand. Eventually he can overtake me. I need to come up with some kind of way to win or deal with you two, like you and Tiff or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just throwing out like off the cuff examples. I shouldn't be picking stuff to specifically get under the ability of something you're playing.
I think we are good about not trying to be like, oh, I'm directly fucking you.
Yeah, we are pretty good about that.
I think we do sometimes stumble into that. so like, for example, you recently built out your fur crag list, right?
Oh yeah.
And we had a game where I was playing Takesha that gives all my creatures tap abilities, so you couldn't goad me.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad was playing his go into the castle fucking deck.
Livio and I think it's Glanra, or is it back to Kodama? I don't know.
I think it might be Kodama again, but he's doing Livio where he's just exiling things away.
Right.
So you couldn't goad 2 players basically. And I think we just kind of accidentally.
It was worse because Bro is playing Hazel.
Oh, that's right.
Chris is playing Hazel, and it's just like, would tap all these tokens, or was it Balan? I can't remember. But
it just kind of accidentally happened that way.
Yeah.
I think we'll be more cognizant of that in the future. But like, it was not a good game for you because you couldn't goad anybody, right? Like,
that was hard. It's not your guys' problem. You wanted to play Takesha, Brad wanted to play Livio, and Chris wanted to play, I think it was Hazel or Balin, one of the two. He made us both at the same time. And I want to play Furcry. They're all new, except for Takesha. They're all newish things.
Which is what happens a lot. We just have something we want to play.
I want to play this. I haven't seen it in a while, or I've made changes to it, or it's brand new. Yeah. So I'm sitting down trying to play this new list, and I should have gone, I need to switch. And my arrogance, and just everybody's not going to get into each other's stuff. Yeah. It was just a really bad game for me. And then I did it again because I don't know. But like, that can happen. Like,
yes,
but no one picked those decks in fear of Furcrag. They weren't like, oh my God, I can't, what can I do to not be goated? No one's doing that.
But I think because of that experience, I think we will all be more cognizant now of the ability, right? Like none of us want to, I view that as a counter pick for me now, where it's just like, yeah, if I get out to Keisha where I can just tap out of the way of every fucking goad.
Yeah, you're going to anyway. Yeah.
Like all
it does is just hinder your vigilance is all it ends up doing.
Right.
You got to tap on your turn or they got to attack.
Right. Which, maybe that's okay.
Back, I guess.
But
they're usually like little dudes. They're not going to come back from a goad.
Right. Exactly. So, I don't know. I think that sometimes we're not great at recognizing the ability that we're playing around, but I think we do try to pick up on it.
There's also the power level.
Yes.
There's some decks that we have that they're older and they've got a significant capital investment in them. We'll say like they've matured, they've vested, and they just do really well in a lot of situations. They're either the strategy that they're using is kind of opaque and a little bit difficult to get your arms around, or their budget's really up there, so they move faster than is appropriate. So some of mine, I got to be careful when I play them. And it's not, again, it's a balance thing, right? Like I'm not trying to look out for just my friends that I'm playing against. I am, but also I don't really want to be the focus of 3 competent players either.
No.
I don't have a deck that I don't carry any decks currently that can handle the combined anger and focus of the people I play with.
Yeah.
I don't currently. Yeah. So I want a balanced game where I want Kyle to go, God, man, it's Nezahal and that's really strong. But also Sephiroth is over here. But also pick a deck of Brad's. Like,
yeah, that is a better game.
And then all 3 thinking that's the perfect game. It's the balance that I'm trying to achieve. Yeah. It's like, what are these? I guess I'll just have to see how it goes. And the game just plays itself by its own right. The threat assessment has to matter. They're all equal in threat. You all have to figure who's the actual person in this turn and this turn. And
there's a bunch of different versions, I think, of these setups that can happen. Like we had a 5-player night not too long ago, and you went to go grab, I think it was a Dual Leaper deck. You're like, should I play an aggro deck?
Yeah, Death Leaper. Yeah.
You're like, maybe I shouldn't with a
Probably
5-player
not a good
game.
idea, Andy.
And I was like, well, I'm going to play an aggro deck.
Like, all right.
And I think that made it more palatable for both of us. We're just like, these aren't in 5-player games. These are terrible decks to try and win with. But if there's a couple of us trying to do this, that's actually probably a better setup, A, for the pace of the game,
Yeah.
and B, for our shared experience as
We
well.
just had a lot of people wanted to play that weekend, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't get us to mega church where we had 2 pods of 8. I had like 5's like the ceiling for me.
But I think that was a good sense of like, let's balance our ability a little bit with the two of us are both going to play an aggro deck. And I think that fits well in this context with what we're doing here.
Yeah. We're trying to balance the game. We're
Yeah.
trying to patch it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to be mindful of the ability of a deck. Sometimes we're really good about that. Some players are not great about that. Brad kind of just wants to do what he's going to do. He has a deck that he's been waiting to play. He's not very interested in seeing it go one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's blown up in his face, I think, more than, like, dude, it just doesn't match up. Like, it's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's happened. So, or he's completely victimized everybody because it was like, holy shit, these other 3 are players' ability.
Yeah.
Not everyone is as invested as us, or I don't know, someone who sat this far into this podcast episode,
Right.
Into this game. They're just not. And I think their ability to play it often, or their ability to dial in on people's advice or opinion or strategy, or they're not sitting down and pulling up Commander's Herald and reading about whatever, or Channel Fireball's articles, or they're just not doing that, right? They just, to them, it might just be something they do occasionally on a weekend. And we have a couple players that are like that. They're competent enough. They get a lot of help from us in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It might be something we probably should talk about too, but their ability is just not at the same level.
Yeah.
And some decks are really straightforward, that anybody who just has a loose understanding of Magic the Gathering or a Commander game, they should be able to go, well, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah. I think the thing for me is I'll play something, and if it's recognized as a problem right away by the people at this skill altitude, then I think, okay, this is the right game for that.
Yeah.
If I play something and only you get it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to explain if he finds this and this, or if he keeps doing this and this, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's not a good situation if I'm sitting there explaining it to everybody.
Yeah, like it puts you in a weird position of having to like puppeteer is what we call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're puppeteering or you're shot calling. And they're not really like, I don't know how they take it. I don't love being told stuff like that when I play like other board games with other people somewhere.
Oh, sure. You're like, I want to be able to kind of have the ability to figure this out.
Right. Like if you sat me down with your cousins or whatever and you were going to play Killer Bunnies, you probably have to tell me like, hey, Andy, this is bad. Oh, okay. If it wasn't readily, I bet there are combos in that game.
Yeah, there are.
It's not readily obvious that this is a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not really, you probably just need to stay away from stuff like that when you're playing people at our, so I kind of stay off things that like are really edict heavy. It doesn't feel good to have your shit just torn out from under you every 10 seconds. Board wipes, that's part of the game, baby. But like if I'm just repeatedly edicting people from their big, juicy, cool commander that they love so much, because like that's how they're attached to this game at this point. Like, so our newest guy that's just kind of coming back to the game is Zach, and he's kind of in that phase where he wants to RP with the game,
especially the Lord of the Rings stuff, right? Like he's really RPing hard on that.
Yeah, like I get a text message from him almost every week about when are we going to do our Lord of the Rings themed decks. He understands that like the game exists outside of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
He understands that like only using the cards from the Lord of the Rings set would really rein it in, and it might not be competitive against other decks. So he's he's somewhere on the journey of understanding.
He gets that.
Right. But where he's at, he wants to do that still. That to him is a good use of his time and money. Where me and you, it's like, I don't know, man. We'll play it like once or twice, dude.
Yeah, it'll be kind of a little bit of a gimmicky deck.
Exactly.
But it'll,
Are we really going to sit down and play these like every night? Zach's here. I don't know. And do I want to do that? So we're all kind of resistant to this idea a little bit. Like
I have an idea for it, but I'm not jumping at building it, I guess.
Yeah. I love the aesthetic. I love the idea of,
yeah, because you brewed one already.
Oh yeah, like busting out Saruman, whatever, and just like it's all there, and I can RP a Saruman for the night. But
yeah,
he I know something he doesn't, and that's probably true for just a lot of what goes on with this game. I know that this is only so long I can get down with doing this before I'm bored of it and I want to go back to the stuff that's,
Yeah.
So he's newer. I shouldn't be bringing in stuff that's a little complicated and hard to understand.
It's true, right?
Like I played last time we were together. I used Norrin the Wary. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, sure.
It's to somebody who doesn't understand this game. They couldn't look at Norrin the Wary.
Yeah.
He looked at it and was like, "Oh, that's funny. Weird."
Yeah.
He probably thought I was like I was trying to make some statement about like, look how great of a deck builder I am that I can win with Norrin. It's like, dude, Norrin is a pretty potent commander.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's plenty of cards in the game that capitalize on just what Norrin does. But he doesn't know about those. He doesn't think Perfros.
Oh yeah, there's no part of him
know
that's,
anything
that's
about
like,
that.
There's something I could do that could happen with this.
Yeah, he doesn't think, oh, I got an instigator and Perfros.
Yeah.
And damage triplers.
Yeah.
He's not connecting all of that.
Yeah.
He'll have to learn. We have to start doing those things in front of him, but it's just a little off. So he ended up just kind of like letting me do whatever for too long. And then you and Brad were like, I think I had a turn where you guys were going to take 12 damage at the end of every turn for him returning.
Right.
And you said you had to go, okay, pause everybody. And
I literally
Brad's
did.
like, I got it. Because Zach's like, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
what?
and I was like, literally nobody can take game actions unless it's to deal with this problem.
With this. We will be dead before we get back to Andy's turn. Does everyone understand that? And Brad's like, I got it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah. But that he just was like, oh, wow. Yeah. It's not that he's just not he just doesn't, he didn't even conceive of that.
It requires some experience to, I think, put things together at the pace this game demands you do in order to play with entrenched players, right? An example of this was probably one of my like, I am the biggest asshole moments I've ever had playing this game.
Okay.
We had Mega Church, and this was several years ago, but I remember Tiff and Edis being at the table with me.
Okay.
I don't remember who our fourth was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't you. It wasn't Brad.
Cam 2?
Maybe Cam 2.
Okay. We have two Camerons in our playgroup. We have Cameron.
For some reason, we just call one of them Cam 2.
And the Cam that we met second, Cam 2. Sorry. I love Cam 2. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
I almost want to call him Cam 3.
Just because.
Well, because he's just better than whoever Cam 2 would be.
Right.
So if we ever end up meeting another Cameron, that'll be Cam 2.
Anyway, like, this was back when I had my Fenax mill deck, right?
Okay.
And the last version of it I did, because I just wanted to mill with butts. That was my original thing.
Yeah.
But then it was just like, it was too slow. So I built combos into the deck. Yeah. And none of them recognized what was going on. I was having a bad game, legitimately. And it got down to me and Edis were the last.
How long was the intruder alarm out? Like before anyone even did anything?
It wasn't an intruder alarm game. But what it was is I got some version of the Blood Crank combo set up. And I wasn't tutoring, but those were in the deck. And I just I had the Blood Chief Ascension out. It had gotten charged. And then I just top decked the Mind Crank, right?
Yeah.
And so he had killed the other two people thinking he could deal with me because I hadn't been able to make anybody mill that much. So nobody was losing life to my Blood Chief Ascension. And then
that's Edis for you though. Like, yeah.
And then I just put it out and he was literally like this close to ending me as opposed to one of the other two, but he chose to end those other two. And I just like put that card out and I'm like, tap, you lose. And he had no recognition of what was happening. Had no notion that might exist in my deck.
The Blood Chief needed to go.
Yeah.
Right. That's experiential or studied. And the Blood Crank combo, that's just something that you say. The people just know.
Right.
Entrenched players know.
Yeah. But I probably should not have played that deck in that circumstance because the players I was playing with, they didn't know. They didn't understand whether or not I was close to comboing.
They'll get this. Blood Chief Ascension comes out. someone asks you if they've never played the deck, what are they going to ask you?
Yeah, they're going to ask, is
Blood Crank in this deck?
Because it's a mill deck and they see a Blood Chief.
And then you say, yes. Okay. There.
They know. They know.
You play Blood Chief Ascension. You get a Blood Crank, or I don't have the Blood Crank combo. It's just here to lower life totals, guys.
Right.
All right. Like, that's experience talking.
But those guys didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know. And even if it had been some other combo that I was starting to build, they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
There's no way that table of players would have understood anything I was doing. Yeah, I should not have played that deck.
Absolutely.
Like that actually was my last game with Finex because I felt so bad
that you just like snaked.
I just totally snaked that win from him.
Right. Like, and you want him to play more.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I get to play more if Edis is into this.
And I could see the look in his eyes. I could see
okay.
He really was. He's just like, he lost something that he had no business losing. You could see that like going through his mind.
Yeah.
And
we'll have to get to that later, that piece. But
yeah,
good. That's a great example, I think, of just like, yeah, man, I don't know. This was a little above this dude's head. Like he should have been focusing me, not these other two people. And in the end, it was, So it's either we were, I don't know. I work to try to help people understand the game better.
Yeah.
It can get a little patronizing, I think, after a while. I don't know where they've clicked off. Like, I think Chris is finally getting there with us.
Yeah, I think so.
He's a busy guy. Now he's finally like getting just kind of locked into the game, and he does stuff where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. I think this last like year or so, he's gone off on his own and isn't really just kind of doing what I've been advising him to do. And it's better for you guys too, right? Like,
yeah.
Brad says all the time, he's just like, yeah, when you bring new people in, it's 2 Andy decks versus me and whoever else because they're just following what Andy is recommending. Because I spend a lot of time with people trying to get them up to speed.
Which is something you're really good at, is helping people get integrated.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that. I want to play more. I need more people to play more. Right? Yeah. When Cameron produces extra offspring, I'm like, damn it, I need more people to play. Because like I said at the beginning of this thing, it's like you need people to play, and you need a culture that I really believe that you need a culture that people are going to want to come and hang out in and be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
the game hopefully does its job, but like, man, the game also lets other players get in the way of that. Totally. As is evident in the news, I guess.
Right.
With this whole thing. Yeah. So I don't know. We could do better. We've had inconsistencies. My story that I was also going to say was Tiff's Nath of the Guilt Leaf deck.
Right.
It's just not super obvious how bad discard is, I guess. We're okay with it. I actually really like discard as a strategy. I think it's fine, but it's just not, as that hand starts like approaching down to 1 or 2 cards, it is kind of on the axis of mana denial.
Yeah.
We know to just get on top of it and not allow for it too much.
Yeah.
And to like rein it in and really go after, especially when there's like a weird draw thing going on where there's like a card inequity going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's a Guess Grimoire paired with a discard strategy,
right. Or like even if I have a draw source and Tiff's doing the discard and you 3 are falling behind me.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you're creating a bad situation.
Yeah. You're creating a problem.
So she used to do that where she liked Nath at the Guilt Leaf because Tiff likes to do honestly shitty strategy. She likes this type of stuff, but like she was creating situations where whoever could get out from under her discard by a little bit were taking games.
Yeah.
So it kind of fell near that like Urtai example of like, what is the point of this? Like throttle back on the discard or destroy or let us destroy something that's, so I would win games because you guys couldn't solve the discard and I was just eking out a little bit of, or somebody playing out of their yard or something like this is not working. And she eventually goes, I just need another elf deck. And then Lathril was gift wrapped for everybody on Earth, including her. Everybody playing Commander got gift wrapped to an Golgari elf deck.
Every group is a familiar with it.
And that's just a completely different beast now, but yeah. The token decks are really obvious for newer players because like just look how much of the board
the volume of cards on the table is speaking something.
Yeah. There seem to be a lot of elves over there. That's gotta not be good, right,
like,
guys?
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anything more we should say on this one?
I feel like that was pretty well covered. But I do think that's another one that's just kind of really nuanced and challenging, like trying to find that way of respecting people's abilities. But I don't know that it's something we consciously think about that often.
I think we need to do a better job of it.
Yeah.
We have our moments where I'm proud of us, but then other times I'm like, fuck, we probably could have done that better.
Yeah.
Or I could have done that better or whatever. Respecting the investment. Yeah, I don't like the word investment for this game. I'm liking it less and less lately.
Yeah, which back to the origin of maybe thinking about this, some people were thinking about their investments maybe.
So we'll continue to use it, but we don't proxy. Let's just get this out of the way with our friend group or our church, our people, our meta. We did for a minute, and it got really nauseating really fast. I think you got to control yourself more than ever when you proxy. It became a really slippery slope very fast.
To be frank,
very fast.
I think it led to one person exiting our playgroup.
Correct. Yeah, they just left because it just wasn't shaking out.
Yeah.
I understand the game is expensive. It is needlessly expensive. It is a really good indicator of, if you play Magic, you can't complain about the economy. Sorry. Like, if you're playing like this, it's wild.
It's true.
It's wild how just stupidly expensive it is.
Pricey hobby.
For no reason. For really no reason. It's artificially expensive. So
yeah.
I'm there. If you have a way to manage yourself while printing cards, then you have unlocked something that we could never figure out. What happened is we had players who wanted to play at a higher speed, but didn't have the capital to do it. And me and you, just mainly me and you, were really entrenched already. So we'd already acquired a lot of equity in the game. And I don't care. I'm not trying to protect something of whatever.
Yeah, I'm not trying to keep you off of the rock that I got on.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Right. So we're like, okay, fine, do your thing. But it just got out of control, like really fast. You and I don't own a Gaia's Cradle.
No.
Yet one was printed into our meta.
Yeah.
You and I don't do off-colored fetches because we want to save them for the decks they belong in. I'm not that optimal McOptimal. I'm not doing it.
And even as much as I've invested in this game, I don't have that many fetches.
Me neither.
I've only got a few.
Yeah, I've got the clutch that I have, and they limit how many decks are in my roster. Candidly, like I don't have the equipment for a new list.
Yeah.
Like the money kind of just starts getting in its own way. I'm not just like all over it, but suddenly we're seeing off-colored fetches in this person's list. In Simic decks, I'm seeing, the Golgari fetch, and I'm just like, okay. So it just got really out of control. And when they have good games, it was really hard for the rest of us to go, you're not winning because you're good at the game. You're winning because we just didn't think that we were going to be running into Mana Crypt and just stuff that was just really, they were expensive.
Yeah.
Right? They were just really thousands and thousands of dollars were out there.
Yeah. That were purchased from some Chinese printer for a couple bucks. Right.
Yeah. So the proxies they had were really, really well done. I could not tell the difference.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that too. I'm not really super in love with somebody's notebook paper. I just don't love that. It's just, I don't know. But we
are kind of aesthetic people, I think.
But also it's I need to be able to read the board, and the game is already making it difficult for me to do that already with the modern border getting bashed into pieces. And I don't know, we'll get whatever. But I just need to be able to read the game pieces. Sorry. Right? Sorry. Yeah. That's just how things are in life. If I go into the bank with an IOU written on a piece of paper, they're gonna be like, this isn't anything.
Yeah, this isn't a currency.
Things need to
here.
be legible for us to understand where it is, especially when you're talking about the most complicated tabletop game ever. I think somebody had published an article last week about this. Magic is the most complicated thing you could do with a tabletop surface, short of, I don't know, working out how to build a rocket or brain surgery on a piece of you're sort of getting into somebody's brain, I guess.
Right.
On a piece. It's up there, dude. It's fucked. And now you're making it more complicated with your shitty
things
proxy.
You can do on a table that are complicated.
Yeah, so
open heart surgery.
Anyway,
Magic the
that
Gathering.
person went out of their way to get Chinese fake cards. That's what happened. It sounded like the story was they called this phone number and somebody would answer and they would order their cards. But now I'm getting Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutors back before it had any reprints.
Yeah.
It was wild. It went from 0 to 90 0
Very
to Mach
fast.
3, 0 to like, it just blew up. And I'm like, okay, so either I need to start doing this or yeah.
Well, it happened like, I think what happened is like has happened with some of the other things we described. We did the only thing that you can do when you're in game, which is focus that person.
Yeah, you're already in a group. Everything that we've listed off through this like podcast, you're already in a group that cares deeply about how the game should shake out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like with all of that out there, there it is, right? That's our attitude about Proxy. So everyone's situation is different. Some people have self-regulation. We clearly didn't with the people we were playing with, and we just never revisited it. And we have just people that we play with. It's not I'm not the one who said this, but like Cameron's like, it's the price of the card is the greatest regulation on its power. It will regulate the group. If people really, 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 really want to spend on a card, then they will. And that's that. But they can't just be doing it all over the place, you know? So this is going to get really complicated, I think, this section.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there because the money and this game, they're really hard to separate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And people have different opinions about it. Like, really. I think people have very strong opinions about it, clearly. So here we are. But I want to respect Kyle spending money on this game to engage in a hobby with me as his friend. So what I shouldn't be doing is either out budgeting him, right? Your situation changes. You know, like stuff happens. I shouldn't be out budgeting him and outpacing him just so I can come out on top most of the time, if not all the time.
Yeah.
I really just should be more mindful of how much your appetite to spend is. And I don't think we did a good job with that back when this person came in, but we've learned our lesson and we've created enough decks that exist on different, like we've been talking about, they exist on different shelves to be played off of, right? I also shouldn't, and this is something that I think comes up from people on the other side of this, shame you for spending money on something, right?
Right.
Oh, that's like $50 worth of creatures right there, and there's only 2 of them, huh? Like I've said shit like that out loud.
Yeah, I think we all have.
It's like, dude, if you like your deck and you wanted to,
you should pimp
treat
your deck
yourself,
out.
then it's a treat.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your money. I'm not your mom, but yeah, $50 counterspell or whatever. Oh, like I've said this, I've done it. Brad's done it.
Yeah, we all have.
Yeah, because we know, you know. But I really shouldn't shame you for spending money on this thing. If I need to say anything about the amount you're spending, it would be from the space of, hey man, you're really outpacing everybody with your spend lately or something. I've never had to do that.
Yeah.
But like, if it happened, you're buying cards at power altitudes that the rest of us don't have the appetite to or the ability to. And as such, I need to focus you out almost every game. So if you're getting frustrated with how I'm treating you in the game, it's because of this.
Yeah.
It's because I keep seeing the same thing from every deck.
Yeah, same crazy cards.
Right. So that's what I mean about the respecting the investment from the money perspective. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I like that you call out the idea of just like, we shouldn't be shaming people for buying cards, you know, like
super guilty. I've done it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have.
And I think something that's curious in our group is that none of us are really collectors, but like, I do have some friends that are like, they do get into the collection of cards in this game.
Cam too is. Yeah. He likes to get the cycle.
Yeah.
You know, he likes to complete the cycles.
I think most of us aren't that big into that, but there's some of us, and like, you know, and I've got a buddy, like he's gotten some alpha basic lands, you know, like he's got those things like framed and hung up on his wall. Like it's something that he wanted to do, you know?
Yeah.
And
you and I are not into that. We turned around and sold those like collector soul rings that we got from that GP.
Right.
We were just like, let's turn this into a deck, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I do have some level of nostalgia for cards that I have, but it's not because they're collectibles. It's because I've played them, you know, and like some of them might be reserve list cards, but like I do like that. Notion though of like, if you wanted to treat yourself to something, fucking treat yourself to something in this game.
Yeah.
You know?
Something that we probably should be more openly like vocal about. Like, hey man, don't gatekeep people for spending money or whatever. Like, it's happened. It's mainly like I've done it, you know, I've definitely have said it, but The other side is the time investment. It's hard to just get your ass kicked, but sometimes somebody earned it, man. They did it. They spent a lot of time putting the deck together, thought, testing, thinking about the meta, thinking about how it's going to balance. Sometimes it's just strong, like, and they spent years putting this thing together. Like, some of your Erebus is an old bird, man. It's like the turkey of this freaking
it really is,
meta,
right?
I shouldn't be shitting on that. I should just kind of say, yeah, man, like, you earned this win for sure. And by doing that, I respect your time and your money and your effort, you know?
Yeah.
And your effort. Like, some aren't like that, right? So it's just like, but we're not like a net decky group. I don't look at something and go, yeah, I've seen this exactly somewhere on somebody's YouTube or something.
Sure.
We don't really do that. A lot of our stuff is unique in its construction. Yeah. It's hard though, because often how you have to win a game of Commander is abuse something, but that's just the game that we're in now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I to this point about the time thing, there's so many different axes with it in terms of respecting it, right? Like I mean, you talk about regularly on this podcast, like everybody's excited to, when we sit down and play, there's a lot of time that's been spent thinking about the game preceding it
all week.
And so, you know, like the amount of time that person spent thinking about the brew that they put together and the way that they've been thinking about playing that deck and how it might go. And, you know, like there's a lot of mental time that has been spent in preparation to be here around the table together. And, you know, and so just like kicking somebody in the balls because that's available to you with how this game goes.
Yeah.
Like that's just,
or are losing or something.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so there's a specific thing that happens in our group that I don't think everybody plays this way. You know, like when somebody's about to go out of the game, it's a really easy moment to be vindictive. Like if somebody's sending death your way, it's really easy to just unload all of your like, kill that type triggers and spells that you might have available to you.
Yeah.
To just kind of be a dick on the way out. Right. And I think our group is pretty good about like, well, I'm just going to leave all of your resources in play
because I want this game to end.
So I can play another one. But there is
never understood the whole like remove stuff in as I swan song. It's like if we're set up to play between, 5:00 in the afternoon till midnight.
Yeah.
And we're on game 2. And I'm beating you. I'm about to win, and you remove all my stuff as some kind of that would allow you to whatever.
Potentially,
you
beat
will play
others.
less Commander tonight because the two people who are still your opponents. Like, don't you want this game to end sooner?
Yeah,
the opposite can happen too. We've had people like accelerate it and rob the other two because they're like, I'm going to die, so I'm just going to. That sucks. Like, don't do that. Like, really, you should just minimally impact the game if you're not going to win it. Is really what you should do.
Which I think that is a weird.
If you're playing with your friends.
Yeah, it is a weird little nuanced thing, but I think that's representative of a culture that we have in our group of like, hey, like you don't need to have your vindictive swan song as you're getting pushed out of the game. Other people have thought about this. Like, let them kind of have their experience. Clearly, as this game goes, your experience is done. Let other people have their experience with it. And I don't think everybody needs to play that way. I'm not saying that that's a prescription that everybody needs to follow, but I think it is emblematic of our attitude of like, we love it when people get to kind of have their like experience with their deck. And just because I'm about to lose doesn't mean that I need to take your experience away from you.
Right. I did everything I could to stop you.
Right.
I just didn't pull it off.
Right.
I didn't, I don't go quietly, but I don't go out like a baby either. It's like, yeah, fuck, dude. You got it, man.
Yeah.
I tried, and that's that. And I hope I don't have to just sit here for another.
Yeah. I don't want to wait 30 minutes for the next one.
Yeah. Or whatever. Like if that happens, then that's happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Like I beat Genichiro after getting
You got aced by Arixmethes.
That boss was giving me some trouble, and like you shoved me out with Arixmethes, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go play Sekiro, and that game went on forever, dude. It was like I managed to beat this boss I was struggling with while that was going on. It's happened. Yeah, I've got to like pass Heat 13 in Hades while Brad was working on
his spin down counter amount of mana.
Whatever. Yeah, like that's happened too. Yeah. Do you think that illustrates that element? Okay, right? The whole just like respecting the investment, respect people's time, right? Like a little bit. It kind of goes back to the first one. I meant more like the time they spent getting into the game.
Yeah, the investment of time, which I would say is emotional investment in the game. Like we are all emotionally invested in this game. As much as we want to consider ourselves reasonable creatures, we're emotionally invested.
This last one, or these last two, kind of pull us away from the group, I think, a little bit.
Okay.
To try to pull, just to temper everything that we've talked about. Because, just respecting the format. It's a multiplayer format. Gotten in trouble with my views about this, but like it's a multiplayer format.
Sure.
There's no prizes. There's no stakes.
Yeah.
Right. We mentioned this. So it's
regardless of the pace you're playing, like you're still just a game.
Yeah, it's still just a game. They're all, it's not real.
Yeah.
So I have to, because we're so invested and because we care so much and because I want to execute my strategy that I've been jerking off about in my mind all week, like I lose sight of this. I did last weekend. Like it just happens. It's just it's not a measurement of my intelligence. It's not a thing about your virility or how Sigma you fucking are if you can win a game of Commander or two. Like often it just shook out that way. It's so hard to keep track of the variables in a game of Commander from the beginning to the end. So much has changed. It's pitching around like crazy. You could log it. You can record it. Some people watch whole gameplay videos and they're like, man, that deck was crazy. It's like, but it didn't even do anything half the game. It just worked out that way. There are games where, we're all marching to one deck's tempo. It's happened. Like there are ones where everyone battled and clawed until the end and they all just didn't get to the finish line and the last person just reached across all bloody and got it. Yeah. Those are our favorite types of games for me and you. But a lot of people, I don't know if they want to win by a landslide or not at all. So I think it just needs to be kept in mind that it's a multiplayer format with no stakes when you're sitting with your friends in a basement somewhere. There are places that you can go where there are stakes.
Sure.
Okay. So that advice, but this just doesn't apply to our culture where we play.
Sure.
Like I was saying earlier, like there's more at stake at dinner for Kyle than there is at that table. Really. Other than ego and the thing, and with everything that we've said, we're trying our best to keep everything nice for you.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work out, it just wasn't supposed to work out. It's just the cards.
And I think there's some elements to this that I think we've tried to get better about it in our group in terms of like recognizing that some games just shook out really weird. Some of them are just like, oh, I did do something that game to try and win that game. Or sometimes it's just like, I don't know how I was the fucking one that won. Like that was kind of crazy. I think we do a lot better at acknowledging that it's just the format and that's what we signed up for. That's what we like about it is it's crazy.
The reality is not aligning with your expectations.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to. It's not like other things that you might engage in.
Yeah.
Like if we just take a 1-to-1 from video games. In video games-ish, right? Like if you're fighting a boss, like we'll go back to Elden Ring, they have a move set. There's a likelihood that they favor certain things in certain phases. They have conditions that they have their pattern. And if you learn the pattern, you'll win. Brad beat Elden Ring without leveling up because he knows the pattern. He cannot be hit. He cannot be hit. He unlocked a cheat code in his head, which is like, every move of every boss down to the tell, and you will never get hit.
Which is wild.
That's what he did. It took him hours and days and months to do it, but he did that. So it doesn't matter what the bosses are doing in those games because he will not be hit ever because he doesn't make a mistake. That's what was required for him to beat it without leveling up. You get it? Commander is just variable ridden. Like even your own deck can turn on you. That's like playing Elden Ring and it's just randomizing the button inputs. Dodge is now block or whatever.
That shit I meant to
that
dodge
happens
there.
just from your own deck. Like you can hopefully avoid bad variance by having good deck construction.
Sure.
But even your own deck can stab you in the back.
Yeah, luck is still part of the game.
It's just part of the game. And now you take this and times it by 4.
Yeah.
And then multiply that by the number of colors and then times that by to the power of whatever people are designing, whatever they like treasure for the last 2 years, or there's this commander that they made for Brawl trying to get us to care about that. And it's broken. Like there's just so much that's not has nothing to do with you learning the game. It's just so the format, you should expect less from it. And I think you'll be a little happier. Really hard to do. I struggle with it.
But it's also the elegance of this game's design, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to have anything in Magic the Gathering that is akin to that experience you just described for Brad. There are always supposed to be vulnerabilities to what you do in this game. You are always
that shit will get taken
supposed
apart.
to be vulnerable to something.
If that can happen at the tournament play, like modern tournaments, where it's like there's a version of this guy cannot lose because he has this deck, it will get taken apart. The steps will be taken to make that not happen.
Right.
In Commander, you have 3 people watching you and they go, this is a little slippery. Why is this Tulane doing this? Let's all not let that happen.
Not let them be here.
Right. And there's not enough fierce guardianships in the game to stop me from getting on you. And I might not win the game, but you certainly didn't either.
Right.
So I guess my point here is like, just respect the format that it's multiplayer.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's supposed to be fun. Even at competitive play, competitive doesn't mean misery. I don't think like, just it's supposed to be fun. I hope. You want to add anything to that?
No, I like that. I think that's a good sum of that.
The last one I think is also just to pull us way back too from all of what we've been saying, which is respect the game.
Yes.
Bad things happen in Magic. There's cards that are designed to do this. Winter Orb is a legal card. I don't love it, but it's there. Stasis is a legal card. To some people, Farewell is a legal card that gives them problems.
It's a source of consternation.
It's a sort of consternation. Like the game, it's it's not supposed to be easy. Like it'd be kind of lame. It'd be for babies.
Yeah,
it'd be for babies if it wasn't if it was easy.
Yeah,
and if you're playing against people and it's always easy, then I don't know. If you like that, cool. But like, I just wouldn't enjoy that if I'm just winning all the time.
Right.
So it's kind of a slippery slope to mess with house rules a little bit. Like
and this coming from folks who have some house rules.
We do, right? So, and we can get into them and check them against everything that we've been after this whole episode, right? But it's a slippery slope. If people can just come up and complain enough to get something to change.
Yeah.
It sets a bad precedent, I think.
Yeah.
Like when somebody can freak the fuck out, throw enough stuff onto a football field for someone to overturn a play, like all of this stuff, like it gets really slippery quick.
Yeah.
And this is a format that you should control because it is casual. The rules committee, the rest in peace rules committee, they said like, have a trusted group if you can and have those discussions, a pregame discussion.
Yeah.
House rule, I guess, is a pregame discussion that's not being discussed. It's just locked in. It's happening. This is just how we do it, whatever.
Yeah.
And it works for me and Kyle and the people we play with, but it doesn't work for everybody. And people can go crazy with it. They don't trust the game or they don't trust their own ability. Their knee-jerk reaction is to talk about banning Erebus. Like our favorite story. Like we need to talk about banning Erebus. Right? I trust my opponents to figure out what's going on. And if you listen to what we've been saying, a lot of the time the solution was pressure them off the board and get rid of them because of the deck they're playing. Get Derevi killed. Get Brago off the table.
Yeah, we could.
Nath needs to go. Lathrog dies. Like we've been talking about all of these decks.
Yeah, we could have been hyperbolic about our rules. Like, well, no more stacks allowed in our group. And we just kind of understand, like, you can probably use those cards, but like,
get ready to
there's a consequence
it's just
for
like,
it.
Come on, man. Like, I don't know, but we're not trying to set up rules for our play group to fix anything. It's really just with what we've all gone through on this episode. It's now hopefully you understand more about some of ours, right? So like one of the ones that we're kind of infamous for is we just don't allow you to use a soul ring out of your opening hand.
Yeah.
And think about everything that we said, right? Like your deck will now be it'll outspeed everybody if they didn't pull theirs. It just becomes all about, we all have to fall into this orbit, you know? Yeah, right. A new player might not really get how strong Soul Ring is. I think it's taken me too long to figure out how Soul Ring is, how good it is.
Well, because it's so proliferate throughout, they print it with everything, every Commander product. So it's just ever present. It's not obvious how
it's not super
fucking
expensive.
good it is.
Yeah, but like it's taken me honestly too long to figure out how game warping that card is.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, so but that being said, like when I think about people's ability, can they really wrap their head around the fact that I'm at turn 4 on turn 2?
Right.
You know, like that the game is regulated around how much mana you have, like that whole story with that girl back in that pod.
Yeah.
Like that's why Soul Ring just isn't a thing in any other format. So there's things like, so we just like, yeah, we want to have a game where everyone can kind of rise at the space that they're supposed to and no one outsteps anybody else artificially. If you draw Soul Ring on your first draw, it's your lucky day, play it. But like really just don't keep it in your opening hand, and we won't either.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. The rest of us are at the same pace.
The other thing is that like, yeah, we don't tutor in our meta. We just don't tutor in our meta because it doesn't respect people's ability very well to know what to tutor for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Somebody who's new to the game be like, I'm going to tutor for the combo I looked up on the internet, and a board wipe is what needs to happen. Or they just don't have the money to pay for the tutors that are good. There's a reason why Diabolic Tutor is like a 30-cent card and it's 4 mana. And Demonic Tutor is just an it's just, it's such it's a staple. It'll never, ever come down in price. Like they would have to print it into oblivion to get it to come down. It's very good. And it's a difference of 2. You can quantify the mana pips to dollar value on that card.
That's crazy.
Right? Because you can accomplish something on the same turn you tutored for that thing, where you can rarely do that unless you've got Soul Ring and some other equipment with the Diabolic Tutor, you know?
Yeah.
And we want variance. That's our big reason. It's like, we just like variance. I'm tired of seeing the same cards every week. So we all just kind of said, hey, let's just take them out. But the real reason we stopped tutoring, and not real reason, but one of the big reasons was Chris just didn't have them in his budget. We had absorbed so many tutors from AP and when he left the game and just over time that
and you have time where somebody gifts you a booster that has a demonic tutor in it.
You just pull it. Yeah.
Like, you know, you've done this long enough. You had that experience moment.
Yeah.
Chris didn't.
He didn't. And he wanted to make more decks.
Yeah.
Which
I like that.
Every time he got money to spend on the game, he was like, hey man, I made a new deck. And I'd be like, hey Chris, you really need to buy this one fucking piece of cardboard, not 100 others. Okay. How does that even make sense? But that's what I was trying to tell him.
Yeah.
I need you to buy this one piece of cardboard
instead of another deck,
instead of another whole bag, like a whole bag of them.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where like, maybe we should think about trying not to use them and see how that goes. And then the other thing that was happening was, we're just seeing the same damn cards over and over and over and over and over every night, dude. Somebody was going to grab this for this and that for that. And it was,
and to the point of the speed of things, it has slowed down the expected turn to see a victory in our group as well. I think speed has increased a bit as people have acclimated, but
I think we're back to the same speed. It's just we get there in a different way.
But I do think initially there was a slowdown of just like, you can't piece together your win, or you can't piece together the perfect control moment because you don't have tutors.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's had its own effect on our meta, but
and it's had discussion too.
When you think about it, it's like, okay, well, everything that they've said, like it kind of makes sense that they just don't really tutor.
Yeah.
You know, because of just the time, the money, all of that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And I think those are our only, or the other thing, we don't really build each other's commanders. That's another thing that we don't really do.
Sure.
You know, if I have Niv Mizzet Perun, there is no threat of you seeing anybody else playing Niv Mizzet Perun tonight or ever.
Right.
I'm the only one with it. It just kind of makes it so it's really more for the opponent. Like, how many games do you really want to see? Right? Like, you want a different experience from your opponents, and it kind of leaves us to just say, this is your thing. It gives us a sense of ownership of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we have like our roster that we keep published for everyone to see, and you have to kind of claim your commander on it. If you don't play the commander, it immediately becomes available. It's not like it's yours forever. You don't have like some weird legacy thing going on. So it makes people really kind of think twice about picking one up or retiring one, because then it becomes available for somebody else. So like Kyle had a Derevi Merfolk deck for a while.
Yeah.
But when Tokaja came out, he's like, I really like that more. And I was like chomping at the bit to try Derevi again.
Yeah, you had an idea.
Because I wanted to play Winter Orb and just stacks the fuck out of everybody again. So yeah, like the minute it became available, I was like, I can build it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, Queen Marquesa actually was with Brad first.
Oh, that's right.
And I wanted
forgot
it
about
so
that.
bad. I was like, I've been seeing all these Aikido lists online. I want to try my hand at it.
I forgot about that.
Right. And he just was, I don't know what he was doing. Was it equipment? I don't remember what he was doing with that thing.
Definitely not what you've been doing.
No. But he ended up letting her go, and I picked her up, and at the time that was his commander. Marquesa was one of his.
Yeah.
We just don't step on each other's.
Yeah.
There was a minute where we were like, is there enough good commanders to do this? Way back in the day.
Oh no, you're right. There was
2013 or something.
When we started to get to where we had a higher volume of decks, it was a little bit like, I don't know if there's enough legendary creatures that are good.
Now there's too many.
I bet a lot of people find that unfathomable.
I know.
That we ever thought that.
I know. But now there's too many. There's too many. You could have, I'm playing Mirim. That's a good dragon.
Yeah.
Well, I've got my dragon. That's also a good dragon. So we've got them.
You're good.
Oh, I'm playing Rivaz. That's pretty good too.
I like it.
That's pretty good too. Oh, I'm playing Sarkon. Okay, that's good.
You could do a Sylvia Corvath dragons.
Yeah, they all good. Probably have like Terror of the Peaks in them or something, but they're not all Miriam,
right?
Or dragon or whatever. Like they're all different. Like that's what we want, variance, which it's kind of okay. Well, that makes sense why they don't like tutors and they don't want opening hand soul rings, where it's like soul ring talisman, whatever. Like this is what we're about.
To your point about respecting the game, though, like with these house rules things, like we have dabbled with some other house rules that
didn't work out.
Yeah. Or some that we've let go. Like we, for quite a while, had this kind of highly specific rule of no Cyclonic Rift in any decks that also had green.
Yeah.
So we were like, Simic is just super powerful. So no Cyclonic Rift in those Simic-y type decks. But
it was, I think, a convulsion to Boros was really weak, red and white. This was before it got a lot of tools.
Yeah.
It could not hang against these decks that just like would sit back, ramp, Psycho Rift. And we were tutoring like crazy too.
And we were.
So that was an outcome those guys were looking for. You'd have the Simic player, Sultai player, Teamer player, almost like conjuring that up over and over and over.
Yeah,
they'd be like, all right, I'm going to mystical tutor into, it was crazy, dude. It was like every game, at some point we were hitting it.
But I think we kind of landed on a space of like, that's an unnecessary adjustment to the game anymore for us.
So
like
we didn't keep it.
We don't need that rule. Like,
yeah. And
so,
those other colors caught up. Like,
yeah.
I was just like, okay, where's the Psychon? Okay,
like
where's
I
the Psycho
need
Rift? Where the fuck is it? We're gonna die.
In fact, it is kind of crazy how that
that
happens a little more frequently now, where it's like, it'd be a really good time for a Cyclonic Rift.
No kidding.
Like,
I'm like begging for it sometimes now. Somebody put it all back in my
like I would absolutely have my whole board bounced if theirs gets bounced.
No kidding. But that's just us messing with it, trying to make things work.
Yeah.
Like at the time, Or I don't know. That was probably our kookiest one.
It was a little quirky.
That was like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. But the game's evolved so much. This was before Jessica's Will or Dockside or any of these like red things. The red's pretty okay. And white
they'll be fine.
Is fine now
They'll
too.
Be fine.
We can level set pretty well. I think they're okay. Yeah. Is there anything else we should cover?
Can I add just one more like ad lib type thing in terms of respecting?
Do it.
I think I've been thinking about this just in life, but I think it is applicable to building a good playgroup culture, which is like respecting your role as an individual.
Interesting.
And so by that, I mean, like, I look at the people in our playgroup and, you know, what we provide and what we bring to the group of friends who sit down at the table and play this game is different. I'm a believer that we all have like different social talents. Some things can be worked on and some things are just kind of like sort of our temperament.
Mm-hmm.
Andy is really good at getting a group of people together to play, right? Like he has to do that or a bunch of us are just not going to play or not play nearly as much. Like I think it's a thankless job for you sometimes, but like Andy has that role. He's really good at getting this group of people together and he needs to do it. But there's other of us when he reaches out and asks us if we're game, our job is to more often than not show up and come play. Right. Like I think that builds that culture of us knowing we can get together and rely on putting a game together and play and have fun with each other. And like, I don't know. That's something that's been on my mind is that social dynamic of, you know, like I think someone like Chris, you know, he's a really happy-go-lucky, like easygoing guy.
Yeah.
And it's important that we have his persona at the table.
Oh yeah. No kidding.
Because it, you know, sometimes some of us get a little fiery.
Fuck yeah.
And having Chris there is this really good reminder that like, it is just a fucking game.
That's true, dude.
And like, I think it's so important that Chris is part of the group, you know, and that he doesn't try to be anybody but Chris.
That's true.
Like we have to have that guy here.
That's
right?
true.
And like, so I think just recognizing who you are, respecting the role of who you are in your play group, I do genuinely think it helps build the culture of a really good collective.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. Like if I think about you're a good pressure regulator for things, you know, like you're not all the way on Chris's side of things where Chris, you shouldn't be laughing. This isn't funny.
Right.
Really, dude. He just like, oh yeah. Whoa. It's like, this isn't funny at all. Where you are just like, guys, we probably should stop taking game actions right fucking now and talk about this.
Right.
You know, like you're a good pressure valve. Like you need enough PSI to get the shampoo out of your hair.
Right.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, California, but I kind of need to get this shit
it's
out
like,
of my
I got to
hair.
get that new shower head from Utah. Like,
yeah. Yeah. But you don't need to be blown out of there like a Kramer in the elephant nozzle or whatever the hell that was. So it's a good, you need somebody who's like a good moderator for the nuclear reactor that can be a play group.
Yeah.
But then you need somebody who's a good target to chase. And that's definitely my brother. Like,
yeah.
He definitely gives us a challenge. So
yeah.
How the fuck are we going to get around this? Like he's a good player. I think he's the best player at our table.
Yeah, I agree.
No question.
And that's an important role to have somebody like that there. I do think
right. I don't want incompetence. I'm not trying to foster that.
Yeah.
It's just some things don't get in the way of getting in the way of competence. How can anyone be competent if you're doing some of these things that we've talked about?
Yeah.
Like it's not that. But then, yeah, it's a lot. It's a nuanced fine line to walk that we've been trying to do, and we don't have it perfected, and we're trying, and I don't think we'll ever get there. But yeah, I like Tiff's role too, where she's here to help the game out. Like she's not a super invested player at all, but she's like, I know my deck and what it's supposed to do, and that's how that's how I play. Is I understand my decks like front to back.
Yeah, and she has a really good general understanding of how everybody else likes to operate.
Yeah. She's actually really good with newer players. Like when we bring newer people around to try to like get them into stuff or get them into Commander or like they've moved from some other format. She's really good with them.
Yeah.
She's awesome with them. And that matters because if we get someone bought in, I get more than just a game from these people, dude. Like I got a text message while we were talking from Brad that just says, Edgar Coffin. That's all it says. He wants to talk about Magic.
Right.
Why else is he hitting me with that? He probably wants to talk about that Orzhov. Because it's October. It's about Brad's time to start thinking about some kind of vampire deck. You know, like
I fucking love it.
That's every year. It's good. It's good. It's good for me to have something like that in my life.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm not like just getting off work and just trying to forget about it for a couple hours and go back to work. Like I have something I can work on with my friends. You know, it's like our quest that we're on together.
Yeah.
And he's not going to want to continue to do that if I've created a gameplay environment or haven't just taken the reins a little bit and thinking about all the personalities and everything that matters for a game. They're not strangers, the people I play with. Like I know all of them, right? Chris, I love Chris. My only regret is I didn't meet him sooner in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I've known you for a long time, like approaching 20 years. Like it's a long time. Like I should know what your tolerance is for certain things, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't recommend games and media to you that just ain't for Kyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You're
so
great at that.
Why am I recommending or creating a gameplay experience or gameplay environment that ain't for Kyle?
Yeah. Which
I'm not going to do that.
I think and that's an important role that like, I think you play. And I think we all have a different role that like is important to respect and own.
Yeah.
In order to cultivate a really good play group.
That's cool. Yeah. If you play with strangers, though, fuck them. Just kidding. That's not us. I don't know. That's not, I have like the worst advice for stuff like that. Like,
Dustin used to say, he's like, every guy you meet is a douchebag until he
proves otherwise. That's
I think some people do view the world that way, but
I honestly, dude, everybody I've played outside of our group, like when we do the convention or I play on our Discord, it's the opposite. It's like they're really
true.
Good. We're actually some of the worst, actually. Like, you know, this is
it's true.
Whatever.
Every game I've had on with people from our Discord has been an awesome experience.
Right, like they're way better people.
Yeah,
you know? But I think they have like moments where they're like, God damn, it happens. Like, but that's the card game. It's just trying to know your environment. You know, like know your social role.
Yeah,
like you were saying. What's next?
I don't know.
Kyle.
I honestly don't know.
Well, I have another LCP pre-con episode that I wanted to do.
I do have an episode that I haven't been teasing because I think it's a little more, when I started to try to do the work on it, it's a little more intensive than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we'll see.
You've been teasing about it?
I haven't. I've been reluctant to do a teaser about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how far off are you from like figuring it out?
We'll see. I think we dropped this idea. I was like, oh, that might be an episode idea when we were in the middle of talking about the idea of a functionally removed set of cards. Like, that's something that I kind of want to pursue a little bit.
Interesting.
But, I'm not entirely sure the texture of that episode yet.
Yeah.
So
I've got two that I can make happen. So yeah, cool. Another pre-con episode. I've been getting a few questions about that because I kind of made it sound like I was going to do it soon and end up doing something else.
Sure.
I just wasn't ready. I want to make sure it's a good episode. I really want to make it something that I'm proud of when we do it. And then another one where I just want to talk about, like, I've been kind of like throwing this term out, genetically engineered or genetically modified cards and commanders.
Yeah.
Maybe not the commanders. I think that's pretty obvious, but I want to do an episode about that. I went to our Patreons, our tutor or tech tutor people and got a massive list. I need to like trim it back and kind of get it closer to what I'm to fit my, argument, my rhetoric about it.
Okay.
That's another episode I've got in the pipe.
Cool.
And then, I don't think we have reviews.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to me is I'm like, there's not something on the immediate horizon that we need to review.
Yeah.
So
they spoiled some stuff this week, and when I looked at it, like I just had I don't know. I just woke up in bed with like a bottle of Robitussin in my hand, Like I just like blasted some Robo, and then I like pulled my phone open again, and then it disappeared. And I woke up again with like another bottle of Robitussin in my hands.
It's
I don't know.
Joe Bluth with the forget-me-nots.